This is CS50, and this is already week 9, which is our second to last. Indeed, this is really the last week where you'll learn in this class how to program. But indeed, it's this week that's really meant to be the pedagogical climax of like all of these various languages we've been looking at, all of these various techniques, all of this syntax, so that at the end of CS50 in just a few weeks, you indeed feel that you didn't take a class on C, and you didn't take a class on Python, but you really more generally took a class on
Okay,
programming. Because indeed, we know
I
already about half of you will go on
think
to
we
study
are
computer science further, but half of
good.
you will not. And indeed, all of your programming chops here on out theoretically will have a foundation in what we've been doing these past many weeks, but here on out is...
No, go back.
Here on out, it's really going to be up to you to learn some newfangled language when it comes out, or to follow some new trend when some language will have a our laptop.
Okay, come on. Come on and slay him. Welcome to the jam. Come on and slay him. Welcome to the jam. Come on and slay him. Okay. Okay, I think we good. Time to start.
This is CS50, and this is already week 9, which is our second to last. Indeed, this is really the last week where you'll learn in this class how to program. But indeed, it's this week that's really meant to be the pedagogical climax of like all of these various languages we've been looking at, all of these various techniques, all of this syntax, so that at the end of CS50 in just a few weeks, you indeed feel that you didn't take a class on C, and you didn't take a class on Python, but you really more generally took a class on programming. Because indeed, we know already about half of you will go on to study computer science further, but half of you will not. And indeed, all of your programming chops here on out theoretically will have a foundation in what we've been doing these past many weeks. But here on out, it's really going to be up to you to learn some newfangled language when it comes out, or to follow some new trend when some language eclipses the ones we've been using as more popular, as more appropriate for problems you want to solve. And so today really is about synthesizing so many of the past few weeks, but doing it in the context of web programming, which for better or for worse is so very much in vogue nowadays, both on our laptops and phones. And indeed, the languages we looked at in recent weeks are used not only to make websites, but also full-fledged applications and app stores and the like. So this really will be the culmination of those past several weeks. And indeed, we'll even talk about some familiar concepts like shopping carts when you're on Amazon, and these things called cookies when you're visiting websites. All of those topics too will come into play, and you'll have an understanding of what all that means from the ground up. So how did we get here? Well, just last week, we focused on HTML and CSS primarily, which are not programming languages. They're just about aesthetics, structuring your data, presenting your data, and so forth. And we served the web pages we wrote using this program, HTTP Server. This is just one such program. There's dozens, hundreds of different web servers that you can use out there. This is just a super simple one we pre-installed in your code space for you in VS Code so that you can just serve up web pages. At the end of last week, too, though, we teased JavaScript, a full-fledged programming language that you can use to manipulate the user.
ちょっと。Okay. Okay. No, wait.
Experience
okay,
for the better, to make things more dynamic and interactive by actually running code in the user's browser on their Mac, their PC, their phone, as opposed to server side, which up until now is where all of our code in C and Python has been written. So you're writing code on a server, you're serving code from a server, but now with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, it's getting executed in a browser. But today, we're going to give you one final feature of Python, or really languages like it, that you can also use code on the server to generate automatically, dynamically, the HTML, the JavaScript, the CSS that you actually want the user to receive. You don't have to hard code everything as you have when making your own homepage. Well, let's consider what some of the building blocks were last week. So here's a sample URL, and over here, slash is sort of the default page on any web server. It might be index.html, it might be something else. That's just a convention, but it refers to whatever the default actually is. You can visit, of course, from any browser, like a URL that ends in file.html or something else.html, and that literally means your browser wants this file on this server. Or, of course, we saw that it can be a folder, and inside of that folder is presumably some default file name, like, again, index.html. Or you can be more explicit, like folder/file. style.html, and these more generally we just called paths. And indeed, a path is just a location on your Mac, your PC, or on a server of some piece of information. But today we're just going to rename this only to use other common terminology, but they're really just synonyms. Today we're going to refer to those same things as routes, because now today we're going to ultimately replace HTTP server, which just serves up static content that you all write, with your own web server. Like now you will be the ones controlling what it is the server does in response to the user's request so that you can respond interactively and dynamically. But we're still going to see techniques like this. These were our so-called HTTP parameters. They're everything that comes after a question mark in a URL, and it can be like key equals value. And an example was what? When we played with Google, what was the key and what was the value that I first tried? Any recollection? I was searching for cats, and so the key I figured out was Q, because that's what Larry and Sergey, who created Google years ago, decided the name would be of the HTML text box that you type your query into. And if I type CAT for cat, the value of that would end up in the URL for Google as being question mark cat equals value. And I mentioned that it's often the case that you want to send two different inputs to a server, and this is why I propose that you just keep an eye out for ampersands. And ampersands separate these key value pairs. But again, this is the same darn paradigm as before, and we've seen this so many times, right? Key value pairs in dictionaries in Python. We've seen HTML attributes and their values. We've seen CSS properties and their values. It's all the same thing, associating something with something else, even though every language, every person seems to have their own vernacular for it. It really is just the same idea. This associating of something with something else we'll continue to see. And here, to be concrete, were the HTTP lines of text that were in those virtual envelopes, if you will. If I were indeed trying to search for something like cats on Google, this, recall, was the message that got sent to the server by my browser in order to tell Google to please search for not dogs, but in this case, cats. Now, what has HTTP server been doing for us? Well, it's just been serving up HTML files, CSS files, maybe some JS or JavaScript files, but it has been ignoring any HTTP parameters. Like, HTTP server does not take user input. Why? Well, what's it going to do with it? Because you already wrote the HTML, you already wrote the CSS. Like, there's no decisions to be made until we introduce a proper programming language on the server. And so we're going to move away now from this simple HTTP server program and introduce you to your own server that's going to handle the parsing, that is, the extraction of these key value pairs, so that you and I don't have to write Python code all of a sudden that like analyzes this stuff, figures out what page is requested, the key value pairs. All of that we're still going to get for free by just using the right framework. And so today we revisit Python, which we've now used in some form the past few weeks. And indeed, it's kind of been the glue that allows us to stitch together some of our own logic. We saw it with SQL. We're going to now see it with HTML, CSS, and even JavaScript if we want. And we're also going to see another language today, not a programming language, called Jinja. And this is going to be a common paradigm in the real world, whereby different languages, different libraries, different frameworks often borrow from each other, or they use technologies that someone else wrote, HTTP parameters. Like, HTTP server does not take user input. Why? Well, what's it going to do with it? Because you already wrote the HTML, you already wrote the CSS. Like, there's no decisions to be made until we introduce a proper programming language on the server. And so we're going to move away now from this simple HTTP server program and introduce you to your own server that's going to handle the parsing, that is, the extraction of these key value pairs, so that you and I don't have to write Python code all of a sudden that like analyzes this stuff, figures out what page is requested, the key value pairs. All of that we're still going to get for free by just using the right framework. And so today we revisit Python, which we've now used in some form the past few weeks. And indeed, it's kind of been the glue that allows us to stitch together some of our own logic. We saw it with SQL. We're going to now see it with HTML, CSS, and even JavaScript if we want. And we're also going to see another language today, not a programming language, called Jinja. And this is going to be a paradigm in the real world, whereby different languages, different libraries, different frameworks often like borrow from each other, or they use technologies that someone else wrote just so they don't have to reinvent that wheel. So Flask is just a framework. That is a third-party library. It's pretty popular nowadays. It's relatively simple, which is why we use it in CS50. If you've programmed before CS50, Django is another popular framework or library in the Python space, but it's a little more complicated, so we focus on Flask. And Jinja, we'll see, is not a programming language. It's just going to be some syntax, thankfully familiar with curly braces, that allow us to use placeholders in our actual web pages. So again, you'll wrap your minds all eventually around where the lines are among these various technologies, but these are not the interesting ideas. The interesting ideas are the ones we'll focus on in code. But starting today, instead of running HTTP server to serve up a static website, we'll have you start running literally Flask space run in your
Okay.
terminal window to run your own web server that's implemented in Python using this Flask framework. So Bootstrap was a library for making your CSS and JavaScript prettier and more interactive. Flask is a framework or library for just making your Python code more pleasant to use, since you're borrowing features from someone else. All right, so how can we go about doing this? Well, if you were to write your very own web application, your own Amazon.com, your own Google.com in Python using Flask, minimally you need to have a file called app.py by convention, which is where all your Python code goes, and then a folder called templates, which is where all of your templates go. And for now, your templates are just your HTML files. So if we're going to now start building more interesting interactive things like Google.com or Amazon.com, we need to be able to execute code on the server. And so this is the convention. It's not index.html anymore necessarily. It's these two things at the top level. With that said, we'll quickly see that there's some other conventions. And in my examples online and in the problem set 9, you'll see another file called requirements.txt, which is just a text file that allows you to enumerate all of the third-party libraries your application might want to use. It's a convention so that the server can automatically install things for you without you having to do it manually. And then static is going to be where literally your static content goes. So if you've got images for your web application, if you've got JavaScript files, CSS files, by convention that goes in static. These are just conventions. Like, all of this can be changed, but this is like the way to do things. So we'll introduce you to the defaults. All right, so what does this mean? How, for instance, could I go about implementing my own web application using Python that somehow spits out a message like hello world? All right, well, turns out just this. Now, we'll tease this apart in just a moment, but this
Huh?
is the contents of a sample app.py file that apparently uses some library stuff, like
Wait.
familiar syntax from something, import something else. We've seen that
Uh-huh.
before with CSVs and other libraries. This is somewhat new syntax, but it's kind of copy-paste for now. This is definitely new syntax and kind of weird with the @ sign here, but we'll see this again and again today. And it's just copy-paste initially until you understand what it's doing for you. But at least there's some familiar stuff here. Like index.html is still going to be with us, but it's going to be up to us when and how to show it to the user. So let's make this more real. Let me go over to VS Code here, and let me go ahead and create a, how about we'll do this in hello. Let me do make dir hello to make a new folder called hello, and I'm going to cd into it just to isolate all of these files to the same directory so that we have different apps today in different folders. And now I'm going to do code of, let's do this actually. Let's do our make dir templates.html. Sorry, not templates.html. Let me rename that to templates using the mv command. This has nothing to do with web programming. This is me making typos. So if I type ls now, I've got a folder called templates. All right, in there, let's create a file called index.html that is going to be super simple and pretty much copy-paste from last week. Let me hide my terminal window, and let me just very quickly whip up a simple hello world page using my HTML tag, lang will equal English. Then inside of this, I'm going to have a head tag. Inside of this, I'm going to have a title tag, and I'm just going to call this thing hello. I'm going to then have a body, and in this, I'm only going to say something simple like hello, comma, world. And just so this is mobile friendly, recall that we touched on these meta tags. So just in case you, after class, play with your mobile device instead of your laptop, I'll do name equals quote unquote viewport. Viewport, and then content equals, and I never remember this, I'm literally reading it off of a cheat sheet, initial, scale equals 1, width equals device width, and this is just
Oh,
this magical
right. Okay, okay, I
system
remember
browser,
this,
like,
like,
size things
somewhere.
appropriately for the size of the device. It blows up the font sizes a bit. All right, so that's what I would have done last week, and I would have served this web page by running HTTP server in the same directory, and boom, I would see that HTML. But let's now start to take some control over the user's experience, and for now, it's going to be underwhelming.
I remember
It's
it
just gonna always
somewhere.
say hello world. But in a moment, version 2 is going to say hello David or hello Carter a bit more dynamically, and we'll quickly escalate from there to just more interesting applications as well, culminating with things like cookies and shopping carts and the like. So let me go back into my terminal window, and as promised, let me create another file called app.py, and this is where now I need to implement the web server I'm going to run using this Flask framework. And for now, I'm just going to kind of do some copy-paste from what we saw on the slide a moment ago. From the Flask library, which we've pre-installed for you, I'm going to import a function called Flask, capital F. It's subtle, but it's important there. And I'm also going to import a few other things, a function called render templates, and another variable called request. And the only way I know this is from having taught this before, read the documentation, followed a tutorial. Like, you wouldn't know this unless someone told you or you read how to do this. But what this means is that this library called Flask has
Okay.
3 things in it. A function called Flask, capital F, a function called render template, and a variable built into it called request. And this is going to be all the building blocks I need to implement my own web server. The convention in Flask, when you want to create a web app in Python, is you create a variable by convention called app, and then you assign it the return value of that Flask function, capital F, and pass into it underscore underscore name underscore underscore, which is weird, but we have
Wait, what?
a function called Flask, capital F, a function called render template, and a variable built into it called request. And this is going to be all the building blocks I need to implement my own web server. The convention in Flask, when you want to create a web app in Python, is you create a variable by convention called app.
Okay. So, to create web app, we need to create variable.
And then you assign it the return value of that Flask function, capital F, and
So
pass into
app-
it underscore underscore name underscore underscore, which is weird, but we have seen this before. A few weeks ago, anyone recall when and why we mentioned underscore underscore name underscore underscore? Yeah. Yeah, if we wanted to check if the name of the file was itself main so that we avoided a situation where if you're writing your own library code, you don't want your code to be executed automatically. You want to potentially execute the main. Yeah, if we wanted to check if the name of the file was itself main so that we
Wait, check if the name of the file was.
when and why we mentioned underscore underscore name underscore underscore? Yeah. Yeah, if we wanted to check if the name.
Check if the name of the file was itself main. Like the main function to be executed, like main in C.
Name of the file was itself main so that we avoided a situation where if you're writing your own library code, you don't want your code to be executed automatically. You want to potentially execute the main function. And that was a solution to that problem here. For today's purposes, this is just the way you do it. Underscore underscore name underscore underscore refers to the current file. And so this is just a little trick that says turn this file into a Flask application. That's all it is. And for now, That line suffices. All right, what do I want to do after that? Well, now I'm in charge of the web server. I need to write the code that decides, based on the browser's request, what file or files I'm going to send from the server to the browser. Last week, HTTP server did all of this for us, just based on the file name. But today, I'm going to take over control over that process. And the way I do that is as follows. I say app.route with, weirdly, an @ sign in front of it. This is known in Python as a decorator. And it's a feature of Python, not of Flask, that we just didn't introduce in weeks past. But it's a handy trick to do what we're about to do. The route I want to define is quote unquote slash. So that is, here is code I want the server to execute whenever a user visits /, the default page of the website. Well, what code do I want them to execute? Well, I want them to execute a function, and I can therefore define in Python a function. I can technically call this thing anything I want, X or Y or Z, but because they're accessing the default page, otherwise known as the index of the site, I'm going to just more reasonably call this function index. But just a convention, you could call it anything you want, but X, Y, or Z is probably a bad stylistic choice. It doesn't need to take any arguments in this case, and the only thing this function is going to do is, for now, let's go ahead and have it return hello world, quote unquote, and that's it.
Okay.
All right, now let me go into my terminal window. Let me go ahead and do flask run in the same directory that has app.py and hit enter. I'm going to see some cryptic output, but including a URL of my code space. And if I open that URL after hovering over it, I'll indeed see hello world, as you might hope. But let me do this. Let me go ahead and right-click on the page and click View Page Source, which, if you haven't done before, shows you all of the HTML for a page, however pretty or messy it is. And that's it. There's no HTML that I've spit out. It's just quote unquote hello world. Well, if I actually want to spit out a full web page, which is not a big deal here because who cares? It's just the text anyway. But if I want to spit out a whole file, let me do this. I want to return, essentially, the contents of index.html, which have all of the tags I want, the mobile-friendly stuff and all of that. Well, I can't just return index.html, but I can return this. Render template, quote unquote, index.html. And per the documentation for Flask, this render template function will go find that file for me in my templates folder by convention. It will open it up, and then it will spit the whole thing out to the browser for me. So I can keep all my HTML in one place and all my Python code in this one place. So now, if I go back to my browser and reload, I don't think I'll really see a difference because it's the same text ultimately. But if I view page source now, notice that, there is all of the HTML that was just sent to the browser. So this is only to say we have the building blocks, the puzzle pieces, if you will, via which to now store all of our HTML in one place and presumably CSS, JavaScript, and so forth, but then serve up whatever we want, even though I'm just blindly spitting out.
Okay, so we can have so we can code website, then import web pages.
Index.html. So before we proceed, any questions on this, which again I claim is like my manual version of what HTTP Server was doing for us automatically last week, but this is how you do it yourself. Any questions? All right, well, let's make it more interesting, which we could not do with HTTP Server and HTML alone. Why don't we go ahead and do this? Let me visit the same URL, and I'm going to zoom in. And your URL will differ from my code space, but it's going to end similarly here. I'm going to do /?, name equals David, for instance, or Q equals Cats, or name equals Carter. Any key value pair I want, I'm going to append after a / and a question mark, thereby providing user input to the server, albeit in a very user-unfriendly way. No one's going to normally do this in their browser. Enter. Nothing changes here. It just says hello world, but wouldn't it be nice if it says hello David? Or equivalently, if I zoom in here again and change David to Carter and hit enter, wouldn't it be nice if it says hello Carter instead? So we need some dynamism there. And here's where now Python is going to be our friend. If I want to access the HTTP parameters that the user has provided via the URL, be it Q equals Cats or name equals David, I can use this special variable I already preemptively imported earlier. And I can do this. If there is an HTTP parameter called name in what I'm going to call request.args, then I'm going to go ahead and create a variable called name, and I'm going to set it equal to request.args bracket name. Else, if there is no quote-unquote name key in this special variable called request.args, I'm going to just assume that the user's name is world by default. Now, what's going on here? Well, it turns out that Flask provides us with this special variable called request.args. And in there is all of the key value pairs that might have come in via the URL. So if you had to guess what type of data, or what data type is request.args, that's its name. And here it is in context. Line 9 might provide a clue. In Python, what data type might request?
Oh, no, is it a dict? Is a string?
Yeah. It's not going to be an array or a list, because those are always, in every language we've seen, numerically indexed, but you're close.
Is it a dictionary?
Is a dictionary. So a dictionary is similar syntactically to a list in Python, but instead of numeric indices like 0, 1, 2, you can literally use strings like quote-unquote name. Now, that's a bit of a white lie. It is a dictionary, but it's Flask's special fancy version of a dictionary, but the syntax via which you can access it is exactly the same.
Sure.
Actually, this is a typo. I didn't mean to say names there. I meant to say name singular, but otherwise, I think the code is correct. This is going to, on line 8, check if there's a key called name in request.args. And if so, it's going to set it equal to that value. Otherwise, it's going to default to world. I deliberately did not do this. I added this if-else and did not do this. Why? What error might happen if I just blindly grab name? Exactly. If there was nothing at the end of the URL that was of the form !name equals someone, then there would be no name key. And this is a couple weeks back, but this would give you one of those annoying key errors when you get a trace back because you screwed up because you used a string that doesn't exist. That's why I'm just proactively trying to avoid that situation, just like I might have a couple of weeks ago. So even though it's more verbose, this is just much more defensive so that I don't accidentally index into a dictionary where there is no key. But we'll see how we can tighten this up to be not 4 lines but 1. But I think now I can do this. wouldn't it be nice if now in my index.html file, which recall is in my templates folder, wouldn't it be nice if I could do the equivalent in C of like a %s here, for instance, or in Python, something like this name? Well, it's close, and this is just because different humans invent different languages, invent different frameworks. The syntax for this in Flask is to actually do, 2 curly braces, and then name of the variable inside of it. Why? It's just probably someone figured, what are the odds that a normal person is ever going to use 2 curly braces at once versus just 1? So this is probably decreasing the probability that people actually want to output literal curly braces like this. So it's similar in spirit to Python's text strings. It's similar in spirit to C's %s. It's similar in spirit to SQL's question marks. Same idea, slightly different syntax. And this there is Jinja. So it's not programming code per se. It's just a template. And indeed, that's why this folder is called templates. It is sort of like a blueprint for what I want to be spit out to the user. But I've got these placeholders, like this variable, that I want to plug into that value. Now, this alone is not enough. Watch what happens if I go back to my other browser and I reload the page after changing up here. Let's do name equals David again. Enter. Nothing outputs after the hello comma. So it seems that the name variable doesn't exist yet. And that's why, indeed, if I do view page source, you can see what was sent to the browser. Something's wrong with my placeholder. But I just need to be a little more explicit as to what I want to send where. So it turns out that the render template function takes not just one argument, the name of the template you want to spit out, but it takes, after that, with commas, all of the placeholders you want to plug in. So for instance, if you want the placeholder to be this, literally placeholder, inside of those curly braces, you can then specify as the second argument to render template a placeholder named argument equals whatever the name is. So name is the variable in the lines above. Placeholder is the name of my literal placeholder in the curly braces. And so now if I go back to my browser and reload this with still quote unquote with still question mark name equals David in the URL,
okay.
Now,
so like so it's assigning like so the name of the placeholder in HTML, and then this is the variable in app.python. Okay.
C hello comma David. And if I zoom in here, let me move over here. Let me type in Carter and hit enter. Now I see hello Carter instead. Now this is a little unnecessary to explicitly call the placeholder, especially if you want to have 2 or 3 of them. So you can actually call this anything you want. And I'm going to change it back to name, which is a little more straightforward. The only weird thing here is that now you'll see that you're writing code like this. And this is correct. And this is the norm. It just looks weird. But the thing on the left of the equal sign is the placeholder you're using in the template. The thing on the right can be any value you want, including a variable. So even though I'm naming them exactly the same, which looks stupid, admittedly, like this is what people tend to do.
Okay.
Because it's simpler than introducing another word like placeholder. Any questions now?
Great.
On this? Any questions on these placeholders?
I might do the web
tighten this up
design
a little
homework
bit and see if we can't get things to be
in the
more
future,
dynamic
though.
still. Let me propose now that instead of using this condition, which made a very simple idea, like very verbose with 4 different lines, it turns out there's an easier way to do this. You can actually still create a variable called name, and you can set it equal to request.args, but instead of just blindly indexing into that dictionary, it turns out that request.args comes with a function as well.
Oh, no.
Get. You can pass it an argument that tells you what value you want to get.
Okay.
And by default, if there is no key called name in that dictionary, this function will not throw a key error. It's just going to return none, N-O-N-E, the special value in Python. So it avoids a bug in your code, but it tightens up 4 lines into 1. But even nicer, if you read the documentation, the get function can also take an explicit default value. So if you don't want none to be on the screen, like hello, comma, blank, or that would be weird too, you can just put in a default value per the documentation of this function, like world.
Okay. So .get. So it's request args.get. So inside this get, there is my var, and there is my default. Okay. Something tells me that in the future I'm going to have to look up on a lot of documentation, which sucks. Okay.
Now we've gone from 4 lines to just 1, so arguably it's better designed. And if I go back to the browser now, still with Carter in the URL and hit reload, same thing happens, but we'll notice this. Suppose I get rid of the name parameter altogether and hit enter. Now it goes to the default instead, world. So it's just a little better designed than doing it the other way instead. All right, how about we take things up 1 more notch, and how about we introduce multiple routes and actually introduce perhaps a form to the mix? Because again, no normal person is going to like visit a URL and add a slash and a question mark in their name. Like that's not how browsers work. Well, that's how browsers work. That's not how humans interact with browsers. You and I use a form typically instead. So now things can get a little more interesting when making our own web application, because maybe we could do something like this. Let me go and zoom out again. Let me go back to my code here, and let me move this around and focus now on the index.html file. Instead of just this placeholder, why don't we go ahead and give ourselves a form, like we've played with a little bit in the past, be it for Google or something else, and let's do this. Form, And inside of this form, let's have an input. And the name of this input will be quote unquote name. So that too is confusing, but inputs have name attributes, but this is a person's name, so I'm saying
Oh
name
my
equals name
fucking
here, so
okay.
it's a messy world of semantics. And let me go ahead and make this a text box by default. And then let me give myself a button whose default type will be submit, and the name of this button will be greet, for instance. So let's see what happens here, but let me change app.py to just be the original simpler. I'm not passing in any placeholders now, and I'm going to even get rid of this. I'm just going to rewind to the first version of this for simplicity. Let's now change the URL to get rid of Carter and myself. So we just go to slash and hit enter, and now we have a super simple form again. All right, this is not super user-friendly, but there's some nice enhancements we can make, for instance. Like we can, for instance, turn off autocomplete, especially if I want to type David and Carter manually and I don't want it finishing my thought during class. We can do autofocus, which puts the cursor there blinking by default, which is nice because then the human doesn't have to deal with that. And then we can even have a placeholder attribute, placeholder equals name, so that it's like built-in instructions for this thing. And so now if I go back to the other tab, nothing's changed yet because I have to download the HTML again, reload. Okay, now it's a little more user-friendly. It says name in light gray, the cursor is blinking, and I'm sort of ready to go. But this form hasn't been wired up. Let's now change the URL to get rid of Carter and myself. Inputs have name attributes, but this is a person's name, so I'm saying name equals name here. Text box will be submit, will be, let's see what happens here, but let me change folders now. Let's now change the URL to get rid of folders now, and I'm going to even get rid of this. I'm just going to rewind to the first version. Let's now and hit super user, for instance, turn off thought during class. We can do autofocus, which puts the cursor there blinking by default, which is nice because then the human doesn't have to deal with that. And then we can even have a placeholder attribute, placeholder equals name, so that it's like built in.
Okay, so autocomplete. I guess autocomplete. Autofocus. What's autofocus? Okay, wait. So search up autofocus. Autofocus. I guess search. Then, okay, the rest should be quite straightforward.
And so now if I go back to the other tab, nothing's changed yet because I have to download the HTML again, reload. Okay, now it's a little more user-friendly. It says name in light gray, the cursor is blinking, and I'm sort of ready to go. But this form hasn't been wired up to go anywhere yet. And so let's do this. Let's, for instance, say that the action of this form is not going to be something like google.com, which we did last time with for cats. I am now going to be both the front end and the back end of this website. The front end is what the human sees, the web page, the graphics, the forms. The back end is the stuff the human typically doesn't see, the Python code, the SQL code, the server itself. But now I'm in control of both sides of the experience, the HTML and also the routes. So let's just propose that we invent our own route, and instead of calling it /search like Google does, let's call it /greet. And let me specify that the method this form will use, which is technically the default, will be get. And confusingly, it is lowercase get, even though in the envelope we keep talking about virtually, it's actually capitals. Again, left hand wasn't talking to right hand when these things were decided. All right,
Oh
so
my
all I want is to create a
God.
web form that's going to submit whatever the text box value is to a route called /greet. By default, because there's no HTTP or HTTPS or no domain name, /greet is going to be assumed to be not at google.com, but whatever my own server's URL is. So whatever my code space's URL is, that's going to be the implicit prefix. This /greet is just the route. So now let's go back to VS Code's app.py file. How do I now stitch this together? Well, I think we're good to go with index.html. If index.html's purpose in life is just to spit out this form, we're done with one of my routes. But if I want to have a second route, greet, that actually spits out some greeting to the user, well, let's prepare that template too. Let me go ahead and highlight all of this HTML. Let me go back into my terminal window and into my hello directory and then into my templates directory. And let me create another template called greet.html, whose purpose in life will not be to show a form, but to greet the user with hello so-and-so. So in this file, I'm going to paste all that same HTML, but I'm going to get rid of the form and essentially revert to our previous version, hello, comma, and then using the Jinja syntax, name. So one template, index.html, is for the form. The second template now is for the greeting of hello, comma, so-and-so. But otherwise, these files, notice, are almost the same, except one has the form, one has just the hello. So now let's finish this up in app.py. Let me go down here after a couple of blank lines stylistically. Let me do app.route, quote unquote, /greet, but I can call this route anything I want. I'm just using a reasonable verb. Then let's define another function. I can call the function anything I want, X, Y, or Z. I'm going to call it more reasonably greet, no arguments. And then now is the point where I want to render the template. So I do return, render template, greet.html. But I need to do one more thing. What else do I want to do if I want greet.html to have access to the human's name? Just to recap.
Here is route.
I think we solved this already, but I deleted it. But what do I have to add back? Yeah, so I got to pass in the placeholder somehow. So I can do this a couple of different ways. I'm going to keep it a little more elegant this time. I'm just going to put my name argument there, and I'm going to set it equal to request.args.get, quote unquote name, comma world. Before I used a separate variable, but I only used it in one place, so that's not strictly necessary. So this is fine too. But if this gets a little overwhelming, notice that I can alternatively do this. I can create an actual variable called name, and then I can pass in an argument called name with a value that is that variable. But again, what's really the point here? It was kind of prettier all on one line, so these are the exact same things. I'm just trying to tighten things up further.
Prettier all in one line.
Go back to my form. This is still index.html. If I reload it, nothing has changed. If I type in my name to this form, notice again, the URL I'm currently at, this is Chrome hiding things. It's technically / by default, even though many browsers are just hiding unnecessary characters these days. But watch what happens now if I scroll over here and I click greet on this new form. Notice my URL, my route changed to /greet, question mark, name equals David, and the body of the page at top left says hello, comma, David. So this is exactly how Google.com works, and it's how we implemented search.html last time. But instead of submitting the form to Google via the form, I'm submitting it to myself, my very own route. So I'm implementing my own backend for this same front end. All right, any questions just yet? Much less interesting than Google, certainly, but we kind of have all of the wiring now. Any questions? No? All right, so what can we do to further tighten this up and adhere to some conventions? Well, let me propose that in this version, we solve one problem. And if you've never done this sort of thing before, I dare say we have enough weeks of CS50 where if I show you index.html again and greet.html again, odds are, to someone's mind, there's a opportunity for improvement. Why is this web app, super simple though it is, arguably poorly designed at the moment? And the answer lies somewhere in these two templates, index.html and greet.html. Yeah, they're almost the exact same except for the contents of the body. And, you know, it wasn't a big deal. There's only 2 pages, so what? I copy-pasted this once. But imagine now a normal website, or even your home pages, which had 3, 4, or more pages.
Okay.
And at this point, you're just copying and pasting everything,
So
honestly, as you probably did necessarily for your home page. Why? Because when you have HTML only, maybe CSS, and even JavaScript, that's all you can do is copy-paste, and just make sure that you have the same structure. Maybe you have the same CSS file, the same JavaScript file, the same third-party libraries. But it makes it very, very annoying, as you might have realized already, to just make a change that affects everything. So wouldn't it be nice to, like, factor out all of this and all of this and just let the body change? So here, too, is something that Flask and really other equivalent frameworks let us do. It allows us to create what we're going to call conventionally a layout instead.
Okay, so try not to copy same code into different HTML. Just find a way to change body. So then this is where Flask comes in. Flask has layouts. Okay, great.
So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to copy one last time all of the same HTML. I'm going to go into my terminal window, and I'm going to create, by convention, a file called layout.html. This is truly going to be a blueprint of sorts. And in layout.html, I'm going to paste all of that same code, but I'm going to use now some Jinja syntax to indicate that I don't want to plug in just a variable like name here. I want to actually plug the contents of a whole other file. So instead of just using curly braces, 2 of them left and right, I have to use slightly different syntax to say I want a whole block of HTML here from some other file. And the way to do this, even though the syntax is a little non-obvious, is you use open curly brace, %, block. Then you can call the next word anything you want. It just has to be a special type of placeholder for an actual file, not for just a variable. I'm going to call it body only because I'm in the body, so I want a placeholder to be the entire body. And then outside of this, you then say in one word, no space, end block. So it looks kind of stupid, honestly. And why do we have yet more ugly syntax? Again, just different software developers.
Okay. So to request for HTML file into HTML file. So then syntax, open curly braces, block, placeholder, then %end block. Okay.
In the world, they're all choosing their own syntax for their own libraries, so they all kind of look different, but are all kind of similar in spirit. And you just get used to seeing the different syntax. This now is not nearly as pretty as the pair of curly braces for variables, but this is how I can say plug the contents of an entire file here. And now what does this let me do? I can now go back into my index.html file, which at the moment still looks like this, but almost all of this is copy-paste. The only lines that are interesting and different are these 4 lines here in the body. So what I can actually do now is I'm going to highlight that and cut it, and then I'm going to highlight everything else and just delete the entire file. And I'm
that's just going to insert this there.
Say,
Okay,
curly
okay.
brace, %, extends, quote unquote, layout.html.
Wait. More syntax, fuck. Alright. Then we have OG file name.
And then I close my thought with a % and close curly brace. So this syntax, as you might just be inferring, is now saying, please extend whatever layout.html looks like. That's the original blueprint, the mold out of which I want to make this web page. And now here, the syntax is a little weird too, but similar at least from before. I can now say the body block that I want you to plug into that layout is going to be everything between these 2 tags, which we already saw earlier. But in layout.html, they're sort of giving a placeholder. In index.html, this is what I'm going to plug into those other placeholders as well. So I'm just going to give myself some extra white space. I'm going to paste the HTML that was there. If I want to make clear what's going on, I can indent it, although this has no functional impact. But it just makes clear that just like in HTML, you can open a Jinja tag and close it. But in Jinja here, we have this here, hey Python, here comes the body of this page. Hey Python, that's it for the body of this page. And all of this stuff should be plugged into this main parent layout, if you will. So super ugly, admittedly, but now at least things get way less redundant because I'm going to do the exact same thing over here. In greet.html, it looks like this, but now I'm going to do this. Extends layout.html also, just as before. The body that I want to plug in is going to be everything inside of these tags here, and this body is just going to be hello, comma, name in curly braces, like that. So again, ugly. Syntax got really ugly fast, but it's really just following these patterns now. And we have two types of placeholders, two curly braces for variables, and now this kind of syntax with the percent signs and the single curly braces for like contents of actual files. And so now, in this world, or in the world of a home page, if you were using Flask and Python to make your personal home page with all of those various pages, you would probably design one main layout with all of your pretty logos and colors and fonts and like what you want the site to look like, and then each of your smaller pages would now be distilled into just these smaller fragments. And whether you're using Python or Java or JavaScript or other languages too, all different programming languages have popular frameworks that do things like this. The idea is the same across all of them. All right, let's see if it works. Let's go back into the browser. Let me go back to my /route. There's that same form. Let me type in David and click greet. And indeed, I see hello, comma, David. I see that greet was automatically added to the URL by the browser when I submitted the form, followed by the key value pairs. And if I view the page source, as I did earlier, you'll see that you have the entirety of that layout with hello, David plugged in. Meanwhile, if I go back to the form and view this page source, you'll see the exact same layout, but with the form tag plugged in. And here's where you can be a little less nitpicky with styling. OK, yes, this isn't technically indented inside of the body, but it was relative to the original file. So at this point in the game, you don't need to worry about your outputted HTML looking super pretty. You want your source code that the humans see to be pretty, not the browser. This is not a stylistic concern. OK, questions on these capabilities then of Flask? More problems that we've just solved and why? Yeah? OK, so if the files in question are in different folders, for instance, if I go back into my index page, which has the form, the routes here are entirely dependent on what is in app.py. There's no notion of a folder when it comes to implementing a web application anymore. They are more generically routes. However, and we've not done this yet, you can put your static content, your images, your video files, your CSS files in a folder called static, and there can be subfolders there.
I might
and that
try
would
that.
affect what you use as your source attributes for images, or your source tags for video, or any of those kinds of assets. And we'll see that eventually in the problem set next. Other questions on what we've just done here? Yeah? Good question. How did I ensure that the web app starts on the form and then goes to the hello page? So whatever you decide your default index route is, like the implicit slash, that is what is going to be pulled up when a user visits the domain name where your website is hosted. So if I go back over here to app.py, because my slash route is designed to return index.html, that's exactly why that response came back. Good question.
So
All right, so beyond this, let's consider now issues of privacy, and we'll touch on this too as we get to issues like shopping carts and cookies. If I zoom in on the URL here, even though the URL itself is a little long and ugly and cryptic, but when I type in my name and hit greet, of course, we keep seeing name equals David in the URL. In what sense might this be bad design? Or in what kinds of web apps might you not want the name to show up in the URL like that? Because this is what Google does, and this is what my app does. Yeah. Yeah, so if I'm logging in with a username and password, I could imagine that they show up in the URL after the question mark, where username equals Malin and password equals 12345. But then all my like nosy siblings need to do is go through my browser history, and boom, like it's right there for them to copy paste. So that doesn't seem particularly secure. Or if someone's walking past you in a cafe, they can just look at your URL if it's revealed by the browser, and they see it too. So get is not necessarily the best verb to use, even though it's the default when submitting forms. Typically, when you've got anything remotely sensitive or anything large, so be it a password or credit card number or like an image or a video that you're uploading to Instagram or to YouTube or any such site like that, you don't want the data going into the URL. And thankfully, there's actually an easy way to fix this. I can go into my form, which is currently in index.html, and I can just change the method from get to post in lowercase here, but the verb in the virtual envelope we discussed last week would itself be capital P-O-S-T. Now, unfortunately, watch what happens here. Let me go over to my original form by going back to the slash route, and I'm reloading the page to make sure I get the latest, freshest HTML. And just as just to confirm here, yep, if I view source, method is now post. So let me go ahead and type in David now and click read. And before we saw hello David. But now I get method not allowed. And this is somewhat subtle, but in the title of the tab, notice that it's a 405 error, which is not familiar probably. Almost all of us have seen 404, file not found. Turns out 405, a little more arcane, is the method. The HTTP verb is not allowed. Why? Because by default, my app.py only currently supports get by default. How do I support post? Well, I just need a little bit more syntax. So let me go back into VS Code here. Let me go into app.py now, and after changing the form, I just need to inform Flask that, you know what, the method I want this greet route to use should not be the default, which is only get. I want it to use these methods. And it takes a second argument called methods, the value of which is a list, the default of which is quote-unquote get. So that's the default. This has not made any changes. But if I want to support post instead, I can explicitly pass a list with one string in it, POST.
Okay. So, to use. So we do app slash whatever, then method dot whatever. Okay, So that means that this here now. So okay.
Instead. And now what does this mean? We didn't talk about this in any detail last week, but inside of this virtual
So
envelope
for
typically
this-
is that line like get/search q equals cat after the question mark. If you want to hide that kind of information for privacy sake or because you want to upload like an image, which just doesn't make sense to put in the URL, essentially the part of the story would be, well, the computer looks deeper inside of that virtual envelope, and anything submitted via post goes below the HTTP headers, like deeper in that envelope. So they're still there, they're just not obviously visible for prying eyes in the user's own browser. So just by making that change in the HTML, telling the browser to submit
Okay.
the data via post, and changing app.py to tell the route to expect the data via post, I can now go back to my other tab. Let me go back to the original page. Let me reload, just so I got the latest HTML. And indeed, view page source, it's still, yep, it's still post. But now when I type in DAVID and click greet, now it works. But, notice the privacy implication. I'm at the /greet route, but where's my name? It's not actually there. It still went to the server, but it's not in your autocomplete or your history now, for privacy's sake. Questions now on post?
Okay.
Yeah.
Might be useful.
All right. Can you, the programmer, see this? Well, let me show you a couple of other features of Chrome and Safari and other browsers as well. I keep going to view page source, which just shows you like a read-only version of your HTML. But recall that last time I actually right-clicked and went to inspect or view developer tools. And this brings up a much fancier version of the developer tools. And under elements here, you see everything. And it's nice and pretty printed. It's hierarchical. It collapses things into these clickable triangles. But it's the exact same thing. It's just more interactive. But notice what I can do today is this. If I go to the network tab here, and let me zoom out a little bit, let me go ahead and reload the form here and type in DAVID again and click greet. Notice now, in the network tab of Chrome's developer tools, I see a few things as we saw before. One, I see that the request method is post. Two, I see that the server automatically, without me writing any code for this, returns 200 when it's successful. But I can scroll down, 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 and you'll see that eventually, after all these cookies, more on those later, if I click on payload, the second tab next to headers, you can see, as the developer, what was actually sent to the server. So indeed, this is super useful, like when doing problem set 9, maybe your final project. If you want to see what's going from browser to server, you have complete control over all of that information, even if you're using HTTPS, because your browser and you, the developer, can certainly see all of this. So again, these developer tools, even though there's a lot of tabs and buttons you probably won't need anytime soon, some of them, like Elements and Network and with JavaScript Console,
Okay,
super
damn.
useful to start to get familiar with. All right, any questions now on this implication of post? Anything at all? No? OK, how about one final hello example that ties a few of these things together? How about now we try to tighten things up further, only in anticipation of something like problem set 9 or really more complicated web apps where you might have not 2, but 20, or maybe even more different routes. It might be ideal to just minimize how many total routes we have so we don't get a little too overwhelmed. And I dare say that these two routes are so short, maybe I can combine them into one. And maybe I can keep the user at what seems to be the same URL, but just to kind of tidy things up. So let me propose that we do this instead. Let me get rid of my greet route. And let me go into my form in index.html, and let me go ahead and just have the action of this form still be /. So I want the form to be visible at /, the index of the site, but I also want the form to submit to itself, if only because I don't want to introduce another route like /greet, which eventually indeed will be compelling, so you don't have one route for everything you want your website to do. So technically this is the default too, and if I omit action, the exact same thing would happen as well. But let me rewind, and let me now go into app.py to see how we can make this happen. Well, if I want my one and now only route to support both methods, I can say methods equals, and then a list with both get and post in any order, but I'll keep them alphabetical like this. This now tells Python, hey, this route should handle both get and post requests at the same place. Let's now go into this function. I kind of want to say the equivalent of this. If get, then I want to return the form. Else, if post, I want to then return render template of greet.html.
Oh, shit.
But this is not yet complete code, but I think I can do this. I'm going to go ahead and say the following. I'm going to go ahead and say if request.method equals get, then indeed return index.html. Elif request.method equals post, then go ahead and return greet.html. This isn't quite enough though, because I still want to pass in that placeholder. So let me again add back name equals request.args.get quote unquote name, and then a default value of world. What does this now do for me? Well, let me go back to my other tab here. Let me close the developer tools. Let me go back to the form here. Let me reload to make sure I have the latest. Let me view page source just to make sure I have back. Name equals request.args.get quote unquote name, and then a default value of world. What does this now do for me? Well, let me go back to my other tab here. Let me close the developer tools. Let me go back to the form here. Let me reload to make sure I have the latest. Let me view page source just to make sure I have the latest. And yep, I have the latest because it still says post, but it now says /. And let's see what happens now. If I type in my name, David, previously this submitted via post, so I didn't see any name or value thereof in the URL, but I did end up at /greet. But if the action is now / and I click greet, notice that it still kind of works. I see hello, world, although that didn't quite work, so we'll come back to that issue in a moment. But notice the URL ends in just /. And again, Chrome is hiding the / because that's all that's there, but it does not end in name equals David in this case, or name equals world. Now notice this too. If I reload, I'm going to get this warning. Do you want to confirm form resubmission? The page you're looking for used information that you entered. Returning to that page might cause any action you took to be repeated. Do you want to continue? You might have seen this on websites you've actually visited, where you hit reload and you're prompted, wait a minute, do you want to do that? Odds are you've been prompted to reload explicitly, because why? Whatever you just did was post instead of get. And by convention, besides post being used for privacy, to like hide your username, your password, your credit card number, or the like, besides being used to upload bigger files like images or videos, post is also used by convention to make changes to the server, to add something to your shopping cart, to add something to the database. Whereas get, as the name suggests, is all about getting information, not posting or sending information instead.
Okay.
So this is Chrome being a little careful, because if you just checked out on Amazon and then you hit reload, you don't want to accidentally like buy the same book again, so to speak, even though Amazon and fancy websites have other defenses for this too, to avoid this issue. Now, there is a bug though here. It says hello, world instead of hello, David. And it actually would have said the same a moment ago, and I just didn't retest the code and reveal as much to you. Or if I did, I didn't even notice it said hello world instead of hello, David. It turns out that request.args is only used for get. When using get, request.args is a dictionary that contains all of your key value pairs. But somewhat confusingly, when using post with Flask, you have to go into request.form. I have no idea why these are not sort of more obvious opposites like request.get or request.form. And sorry, request.get and request.post would be sort of sensible names. In this case, though, we have request.args for get and request.form for post. All right, that's an easy fix, though. If I go back to VS Code here, let's change request.args to request.form. Let's go back to my other tab.
My fucking God,
reload.
why?
You know what? I'm going to say OK, continue to resubmit
who made
the same form,
this?
because the form was OK. It was my Python code that was buggy. Hitting enter, now it's accessing David OK. But watch this again. If I hit reload, Command R or Control R, I get the same warning. Are you sure you want to submit the form? Yes. If I do it manually with the reload icon, I get the same warning as before. But if I want to manually induce a get request, well, that's fine. Don't hit reload and send the same request. Instead, go up to your URL and just put the cursor up there and hit enter. And now notice, same URL is a get by default. So anytime you and I have typed URLs into browsers, get is always the default. Only when you click on a button, typically, that the programmer has configured to use post, are you actually adding things to your shopping cart or the like. All right, so we are back, and if I go way back in time myself, like this is actually...
Okay, wait. So that's, okay, that was a break for CS50, but going to web page is a get. So therefore, going to web page is get. So therefore, can just bypass post via re-entering.
The first web application I made back in 1997, I believe. So at the time, this would have been my sophomore or so year. I'd taken CS50. I took a follow-on class called CS51, which is a different type of programming. And then I pretty much taught myself a language called Perl, which is somewhat less popular nowadays. But it's another language like Python, like Java, like JavaScript, like others that can be used to make web-based applications. And the web was very young at the time. And the process via which students, my classmates, could register for the first year intramural sports program, aka Frosh IMs, was to grab a piece of paper and write your name and email address on it and walk it across the yard to Wigglesworth, I believe, where the proctor lived, and you'd slide the piece of paper under the door, and that was how we submitted forms in my day. So this was an opportunity, even back in 1997-ish, to move things online, and the website went on to live on until I think 2007. I found this online, and then it's become something else since. But this was a website via which people could register for sports, and people could log in the scores for various games and whatnot. And so underneath the hood, I didn't even know anything about databases at the time. It was just CSV files that I was storing the data in, but there were HTML forms, and there was with Perl, the language at the time, the way to do the exact kind of stuff that we've just been doing already with Flask. And so what I thought we'd do is implement a slightly less ugly version of this, repeating graphical backgrounds were in vogue in 1997, as you can see here. But these were the aesthetics of the day, including the so-called blink tag. So let's at least focus on the functionality of this website and not so much the aesthetics, and see if we can't implement some of the plumbing for actually solving a real-world representative problem, be it for freshman intramural sports or something else like it, where you're getting data from users and processing it somehow. So let me go over here to VS Code. Let me create a new directory called Frosh IMs, just so we can keep all of this code in its own directory. Let me cd into Frosh IMs. Let me proactively make another directory called templates, in which our templates, our .html files, do need to live. And eventually, I'm going to go ahead and create two files, minimally, app.py and index.html. So let's do the first of those, app.py. Will live in my Frosh IMs directory, and I'm just going to recreate something very simple like we have previously. So from Flask in lowercase, import Flask capitalized, render template, and also request. So same first line as before. Let me then give myself a variable called app, set it equal to calling the Flask function, capital F, with underscore, underscore name, underscore, underscore, and then let me give myself a route for slash, as before, with an index function, though again, I could call that anything I want. And just for now, let's return render template of quote-unquote index.html as though that exists. So this is not really a web application as much as it is, at the moment, just a recreation of HTTP server for one file. Let's now, in another tab, create a templates file called index.html, and I'm just going to save myself a few keystrokes. Let me copy paste from earlier almost all of the layout from before. I've changed the title in advance to Frosh IMs instead of hello, but this is essentially the same template. And for now, though, because I'm in index.html, I'm not going to use extends or any of that fancy block stuff yet. I'm just going to go ahead and create a relatively simple form via which, back in the day, my class
Oh, nice PNG model. Thank you, Antarctic.
mates could have registered for intramural sports. So let's go ahead here, and I'll propose that we do this. In this page, we'll have a form, the action of which will be a route called /register. So I can call that anything I want.
Yo.
It'll be somewhat private, so I'm
What
going to use
up?
post instead of get, just so that people don't accidentally maybe register twice by hitting reload without warning. Inside of this form, let's go ahead and give them an input. Where autocomplete will be off, as always, for demonstration's sake. Autofocus, so the cursor goes there initially. The name of this field will be literally name, because I want my classmate's name.
Oh my god, you can listen to 2 times speed on CS. Technically it's 1.5, not times 2. Wait, let me move my iPads. It's 1.5, it's not 2. It'll be insane if I can listen to 2. I wish I could listen to on 2 times speed, but this is as fast as I can go.
If they want to register for some sport, the placeholder will again be quote-unquote name, just so they see some gray instructions, and the type of this field will indeed be text as before. And then I need to give them the ability to register for a few sports. Why don't we keep it simple? Like back in the day, basketball, soccer, and ultimate frisbee were 3 of the sports that we supported. And so let me do this. And you might not have seen this before, unless you dabbled further on with forms on your own, but I can create a select menu, otherwise known as a drop-down menu in HTML. Inside
Wait, do you happen to know me IRL? Or do I know you IRL?
of which are a whole bunch of options, and each option typically follows this paradigm: the value of the option, and then the actual text that the human sees. So the value of these options will be how about we do basketball as 1, and I want the human to see literally the same thing. So just like with a link in HTML.
I don't think so. Yeah, no, because like today I announced to some of my friends that I am streaming, so it may or may not be them. Like I don't know, man. It's just
They could be different, so I'm going to keep them the same. Another option will be, let's
like
say,
some of my friends as of today know that I've been streaming, so like I don't know if somebody just like decided to swoop in and like
Soccer,
watch
and
this.
fix my quotes, and this human will see the exact same thing, though it could say something else. And then lastly, the value will be quote unquote ultimate frisbee, and the humans will see the same thing there, ultimate frisbee. All right, so this is going to create, as we'll soon see, just a drop-down menu with 3 separate options.
Just searching for small furry streamer. Well, great. You've come to the right place, because I mainly just stream CS, my CS assignment that I'm doing right now, or whatever games I'm playing after I've completed CS Torture.
And this button will be like the word register on it. So I think we're pretty much good to go. Like this is all just HTML, no Python, no Flask per se, except for the rendering of this same template. So let me go into my terminal window. Let me do Flask run inside of this directory, because I need to serve this app instead. I'm going to see some ugly output, including my own URL. And if I hover over that and then open that URL, I should now see a more interesting form. It's got not only a field for their name, but also this drop-down menu with all 3 sports. Now, this isn't maybe the best user experience thus far, because I feel like I'm biasing people to registering for basketball, maybe, because it's checked by default. I mean, a lot of forms nowadays have like a blank placeholder for the form. So this is just an aesthetic thing, but I can do this. Let me go back to the same form. And let me give myself just a blank option at the top that, in fact, I'm going to disable, so you technically can't select it proactively, but I am going to select it by default. And so we probably haven't seen those HTML attributes before, but if I want to create the equivalent of like
disabled. Oh no, disabled selected spot. Okay. Wait, then how have you been, Antarctic, if you're still on the stream? How have you been doing? Are you on the other side of the globe? A lot of people I know are currently on the other side of the globe compared to me. Disabled. Yes, I am Asian. I live in a very, very small, tiny country. If you can get it from there, astounding.
For this dropdown, I'm going to literally create a disabled option that's automatically selected.
I may or may not, it may or may not be given away by my inflection, but it's unique to, I would say it's unique to a certain part of the world. even though I may not represent that because I don't speak like that.
You can't select it per se, but it is there at the top. So if I go back now to my other tab, reload, it's just marginally prettier than before, and I'm not biasing people toward accidentally registering for basketball alone. And if I click on this, you'll see that sport is grayed out and therefore not manually selectable, but I can select any of these other three still. All right, well, unfortunately, if I type in David and I try registering, for instance, for soccer and click register, I do end up at /register, and there's no question mark or name or sport, so it's probably indeed post instead of get.
The Lavan SG of Brunei. Wow, you're right. I'm Singaporean.
Those are hints, but not found. Notice the tab here very
Wait, I'm surprised you guessed like SG, but then not Malaysian.
simply says 404 not found. Well, why is that? Just to be clear, why did /register give me a 404? What's the logic here? Perhaps just state the.
Also, not gonna lie, I'm surprised you know that Singapore exists. Okay, true, lol.
Yes, or
Okay, technically, everything is an island. Because everything would be surrounded by water. Unless they have some specified landmass.
it doesn't exist, right?
So it either, yeah. Are you Singaporean yourself?
We haven't done that step yet. All right, so something as simple as that. And so I actually sort of belabor that point because as you're learning like a lot of these conventions and some of this new syntax, like honestly, you're just going to make stupid mistakes. Something's not going to work. But again, go back to first principles. Well, why is it not found? All right, /register should be a template, maybe called register.html. Oh, I forgot my app.route.
You wish. Why? Why do you wish? Why do you wish such a unorthodox wish?
So that should be the kind of thinking as you try to diagnose these problems moving forward. All right, so let me go into app.py, and let me give myself a second route here. So app.route, quote unquote, /route.
That's across. Ah, hello. Very nice.
Then let me define a function called anything I want, but I'm going to call it, oh, sorry, not /route, /register. Let me call the function, just to be consistent, register. So, but I could call that anything I want. And just for now, let's not do anything too interesting. Let's just return the render.
Do you live like in close proximity? Anyways, you don't actually. No, I'm actually quite closed off from the fandom in SG. I don't really like engage in the fandom in SG, but like do I know anybody in the fandom in SG? I mean, I'm in the chat, like LIFC has a chat, but besides that, I don't think I engage particularly within the fandom in SG. New also not say new lah. I think I was not say exploring, but I knew of the fandom in about 13, 14 years old. Then like officially created my character when I was in NS. I don't know if I want to go to LIFC this July, because one part of me wants to go to an internship, and another part of me is like, I have to save up to go to Japan end of next year. So I don't know if I'm going to LIFC. Maybe if I'm able to make more friends, come closer to the date, I might consider.
HTML. Let's just pretend for now that registration is successful no matter who you are or what you do. Now I need that template, and I only have index.html at this point, so let me actually now do my best practices. Let me copy all of that. Let me, in a separate terminal window, let me do code, let me go into my frosh.ims directory, and let me create a new template called layout.html, just like before. Let me paste all that same code. Let me delete the form and just put in that big placeholder, so block body, and then end block is all.
My face when the internships I can only join two of the most competitive ones, which are MFA and EDB. The rest are like a lot of dev, like data science and CS, backend development things. Those things are also very competitive. I don't know which other internship I want to go, especially as like a first year.
I did earlier. This is just kind of boilerplate now.
So I'm just like gonna study up on. CS is not even like my first major. I'm fucking majoring in PPE, but kind of just have to make myself more
Everything else is gonna be the
employable.
same, but if I want to make it prettier, I could add my CSS up top. If I wanted to add like this crazy repeating background, I could probably do that up top too. So I can make every page look as ugly as it did back in my day, but we'll focus just today on the text. All right, so now that I have layout.html, let me clean up index.html. I don't need all this redundancy.
But thanks though.
I don't need all of these tags at the top. Instead, recall, I think I just need extends, quote unquote, layout.html
Yeah, so
with the appropriate percent signs and curly braces. I
so
then
far
have
the
the appropriate
same.
block body, though I could call body anything I want, but I'm going to stick with what I
Then
mentioned earlier.
and
And
form.
I'm going to delete the tags down here that I no longer need. Why? Because if I go into layout.html, I already have all my open tags, all my closed tags. The only stuff I want in index.html
Actually, a good size for the community. There LFC later in Jan, and then Mega Meet sometime in March. Oh, I know about LIFCO. I think I've registered for it already, but not sure if I'm gonna go because I have something on during that time. I think it's like on 4th Jan, right?
HTML is going to be what belongs in the body. So end block down here. And just to be pedantic, let me go ahead and highlight all that, hit Shift Tab, and that will like
Bro, also know when how I'm going to the Mega Meet during March because I'm pretty sure like close to that time it's my midterms. So no way in hell I'm gonna go to the Mega Meet.
indent it just to line things up, just to be tidy. All right, so better, even though it looks a little cryptic now, but now I've laid the foundation for making a third page, a fourth page that don't have all of that same copy paste. All right, so now let's go back into app.py. Success.html is where I left off. So okay, let me open my terminal window. Let me code up a template called success.html, whose purpose in life is literally just going to be like to say you are registered, just so that we see some informative message on the screen.
Success
For this part, I do
HTML.
still need extends layout.html. So there's a little bit of copy paste still, which is a little ugly, but so be it.
You online.
Block body for this template, and I'm just going to say you are registered exclamation point. All right, and then end block. So super simple. It's just an informative message claiming that the student is registered.
Okay.
All right, let's go back to the original form, which is this. Let me reload to make sure my HTML has reloaded. Type in David. I'm going to register again for soccer and click register. And oh, interesting, method not allowed.
God damn it, method not allowed. Is there another method for submit? God, there might be another method for submit. The online is 20th Jan. Oof, 20th Jan also kind of whack because like second week of uni, then probably gonna be quite rush also. The exam more important. True. I was extremely ecstatic yet slightly disappointed at my exam results today. I shouldn't be because by all metrics I did pretty well, but just maybe could have scored a bit better. Who knows?
So I'm not getting a 404 anymore. I'm getting 405 at /register. What's the deduction here? How did I screw up this time?
No, don't be sad. Legit. I legit objectively I can say I did pretty well, but I just wish I would have done like better. Like you know that competitive mindset whereby like you, even though you're scoring very very well, right? It's like this B plus could have been a A or something like that.
405 is progress, yeah. So it's not, the placeholder I think is okay. This is now about the underlying HTTP stuff. The method was not allowed. Say again? So get versus post thing too. So by default, all of these routes in Flask, just by default assume get, because it's safe. It doesn't allow you to send information to the server in quite the same way. But if I do want to support post, recall that we changed this to
Yeah.
methods equals, and then a list with.
Okay, so this is just okay. The video itself is just an
an
application of what we did just now.
All right, let's go back to the form, reload just to make sure I haven't screwed up. Type in my name, David, select soccer from the dropdown, click register, and now I'm not only at /register in the URL, it
Yeah,
claims
you're
that I am
registered.
indeed registered. Now, of course, I've done nothing interesting. There's no database, there's no CS.
Asia must be number one. The Asia must be the number one. Yeah, true, Sag. I have this kind of like mindset ingrained in me. So like imagine coming to like, I wouldn't say premier course, but a very good course in my in the faculty. Yet like I'm trying to think if I should pivot to CS and then become slightly better at CS. Dude, I had zero life during the first year one sem one. I'm gonna have even less life year one sem 2 because I'm taking 7 modules. The normal workload is like 5 modules.
But at least I now have the plumbing in place to do something dynamic based on that sport. All right, well, how can I now improve upon this? How about we go ahead and store the actual registrants in a dictionary in the computer's memory? So instead of just claiming that they're registered, let's actually make a notation in the simplest way, as we did weeks ago.
You're familiar with like MCs like, and academic unit systems, right? Yeah. So I'm taking 28 MCs. Usual workload is 20. I'm gonna see if it works. Dude, I initially wanted to do 32. I'm like holding back already. I was gonna do 32, but then I realized I'm taking CS. I'm taking CS and data science next sem. Then I'm thinking like, shit, maybe I shouldn't do 32 MCs worth of courses. Finished uni already? Great job. Fantastic. Amazing. Can't wait to be you. I can't wait for commencement. Then thinking I should do masters. That one can graduate that meeting. Me and my friends were like, bros, let's just do 32 MCs. We can SU. We just like screw all the fluff mods and we just SU. Then we just take 32 MCs. But then I'm like thinking, I need to at least get a B plus in my CS intro. How much am I going to realistically work? So I'm just like, 28, 28. Fuck.
Python is just store things in like a variable in memory, like a list or a dictionary, a set, anything like that. All right, well, let me go back into VS Code and in app.py, and I think what I'm going to have to do here is change my register route to actually do some useful information. But before I register the user, let's consider where I want to actually put them. And so let me propose that. How about we do this? At the top of my file, let me go ahead and declare a global variable called registrants and set that equal to an empty dictionary. So we've done this before.
Okay. Wait, this one is...
All right, well, how can I now improve upon this? How about we go ahead and
implement actual. Okay, uni life, good life compared to work life. Yeah, it's like people think, once I go to work, I'm not going to, like people around me in school are so like dumb. I hate the system in school, but then like go to work. Shit, this is even worse. I hate work now. There will always be like one more pain in the ass. Like you go from primary school to secondary school to like JC or poly, then to like uni. If you go that route, then there's work. There's always one bigger pain in the ass to worry about. And I'm already working. I'm doing part-time tuition.
Store the actual registrants in a dictionary in the computer's memory. So instead of just claiming that they're registered, let's actually make a notation. And the simplest way, as we did weeks ago in Python, is just store things in like a variable in memory, like a list or a dictionary, a set, anything like that. All right, well, let me go back into VS Code and in app.py, and I think what I'm going to have to do here is change my register route to actually do some useful information. But before I register the user, let's consider where I want to actually put them. And so let me propose that. How about we do this? At the top of my file, let me go ahead and declare a global variable called registrants and set that equal to an empty dictionary. So we've done this before when we were playing around previously with using dictionaries to store key value pairs.
By the way, your third education is more hands-on technical. What do you mean by third education? Like tertiary? Like after secondary school?
And I'm going to propose that we store the registrants as a dictionary. Why? Because I'm going to keep it simple. Like the name is going to be the student's name. Or sorry, the key is going to be the student's name, and the value is going to be whatever sport they registered for. So David in soccer, and Carter in basketball. And so it kind of makes sense for like a two-column dictionary, so to speak. As we
I went the JC route. So, yikes. Okay, but I did well. I say I did well. And I like the JC experience. Like I thought it was pretty meaningful. Like when joined sports CCA, went overseas, not so bad.
Often depicted on screen. So how can I use this dictionary? Well, let me go ahead and do this. Down here under /register, let me go ahead and initially do this. How about we get the user's name from request.form.get and set it equal to whatever the value of name is. And I'm not going to give a default value now because I don't want to call the student world or something strange like that. I'm just going to assume for now that it's there. Let's then create another variable called sport and do request.form.get quote unquote sport to get the student's sport. And then let's go ahead and do this. In the registrants dictionary, let's index into it using the student's name, and let's set it equal to whatever the sport is. So I've got these variables just to keep my code tidy.
Registrants. This is setting the key and to its value. Okay.
And I'm now putting a key value pair in that into that dictionary. All right. Well, what do I want to now do? And I'll go ahead and say success.html. Sure, let's go ahead and do that. But now I think success.html means that. So let me go back to the form, reload. Let me type in David and soccer, register. OK. Let me go back and say Carter and basketball, register. OK. Now let's see what I want to do next. How about I go into, let me give myself another route. And let's play around here. So app.route. Let's give myself another third route called registrants, whose purpose in life is just to show me who all of those registrants are, just like you would expect from a website like this. And then let me define a function called registrants or anything else. And then let me return the rendering of a template called registrants.html and let me pass in, this is kind of neat. I can do registrants equals registrants, which again looks weird, but what am I doing? I'm presuming to pass in a placeholder called registrants, the value of which is this dictionary that I've been collecting all of the registrations in. So similar to the name placeholder before, but it's a little more powerful because now it's a whole dictionary, not just a single string. So I think now, let me be creative here. Let me go into my templates under my templates folder. And let's do this. Let's go into my terminal window. Let's create another template called registrants.html that's actually going to do this displaying of all of the registrants for us. So extends layout.html, just so I can borrow all of the same HTML as before. And let's define block body, just like before. And inside of this, end block, I want to put, I don't know, like a bulleted list or an ordered list of all of the registrants. So how can I do this? Well, let's do an unordered list, UL. And here's where Jinja and Flask more generally get kind of interesting. Like, I want there to be something like this, an LI, and then like the student's name, and then an maybe LI, yeah, like that, and then maybe like sport, something like this. But I didn't pass in a name. I didn't pass in a sport. I passed in the entire dictionary of registrants. Now in Python, if we were just doing something in the black and white terminal window and doing a command line program, I'd probably have some kind of for loop in Python. Jinja does allow you to do this. So a templating language tends to come with very lightweight mechanisms for doing placeholders, doing simple loops, doing simple conditions. So Python-like syntax, and it's almost identical. So watch what I can do. Inside of this unordered list, let me not start to manually output a single LI. Let me use this syntax. The same Jinja syntax that I used for block, so curly brace, %, and I'm going to say this, for name in registrants. So this is just like Python syntax for iterating over a dictionary, and now this is going to look stupid, but the opposite of that is end4. So in HTML, you use this.
Oh my fucking god. Okay, so great. These blocks are Jinja syntax. Then, I would like to have a word with this computer scientist that decided to make this syntax. For blank in blank. %end. For. Okay. Okay.
In Jinja, you literally use the word end, no space, and then the name of the keyword. So end4 is how you close this. But this is where templating gets really cool. You can now do li, and in here, I can do something like that student's name. And that's it. I'm going to leave it like that. And what I'm doing here is using really a template as templates are intended. I've got like the basic building blocks of what I want this output to look like. But thanks to this little for loop here, thanks to Jinja syntax, the curly brace and the %, I'm going to iterate over every dictionary, printing out name, 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 name. And so if I've got 2 kids registered now, I'm going to see 2 LIs, David and Carter, respectively. So let's see. Let me go back to my Frosh IMs tab here. And I don't have a link yet, so I got to do this manually, like a developer would. Let me go to /registrants, and I'll zoom out and hit enter. And you'll see what you'll probably see too when making mistakes for the first time in this world. So where is the error message? Unfortunately, internal server error is not all that useful, but we do tell you see terminal window. So if I go to the terminal window, I haven't been paying attention to this for quite some time. And in fact, I have 2 terminal windows open so that I can still use commands at the prompt. But if I go back to my first terminal window, aka bash there, you'll see in your terminal window when developing web applications, like all of the mistakes you made in the terminal itself. This is one of those Python tracebacks that's related to me screwing up here. Now, let me go ahead here and let's see, type error. Function is not iterable. And block for name function is not iterable. All right, so what mistake did I make? Well, this is what happens when I don't follow my notes and make changes on the fly. So I have this variable on line 5 called registrants in all lowercase. What did I then do on the fly here in line 22? I defined a function called registrant. So like newbie mistake, like I shouldn't have done this. I can't have a variable and a function of the same name because the symbols are literally identical. So just to make clear that this variable up here is actually global, we'll use our convention like we did in C often when we had a global variable. We'll capitalize it all just to make it stand out like a constant value up there. And so down here, what I'm going to do is pass in registrants in all caps. So that was stupid. Didn't mean to confuse there. But the reason for that error, to be clear, is that you can't have a function that's the same name as a variable. I could just change the variable name altogether. I'm going to go ahead and just capitalize it to make it really stand out that this is in fact a global variable up top. All right, now I'm going to go back to my browser. Let's do David and soccer. All right, but there's going to be some other mistakes here. So on line 17, let me go ahead and change this variable to be capitalized there, because indeed I want to put the key and the value in the same variable.
This feels not intentional.
I'll go back to VS Code here. Let me go back to the form, and let me start adding some data fresh. Let me register David for
This
soccer.
does not feel intentional.
Now, and we should see you are registered. But hopefully now it's indeed in the computer's memory. Let me go back and register now Carter for basketball, clicking register again, and hopefully it's now registered. If I now change my route manually to b/registrants, which is this newly added route that I made, and hit enter, now I see, thank God, now I see the unordered list containing everything in the computer's memory. So when I say you are registered, I kind of mean it now, because the server is still running, and in the computer's memory is, in this registrant global variable, a dictionary of key value pairs. Of course, we're only seeing the keys at the moment, so it might be nice to actually see the values in as well. So let me go back to VS Code, and let me go into registrants.html, and I'll just do something a little messy. I'll just say, how about, well, just to make it a sentence, is registered before, and now another
sport.
placeholder. I'm going to say registrants bracket name. So just like in Python, if
Oh,
registrants is its
oh right. Fuck, you need to pass it via the dictionary. Okay. You can pass dictionary keys. Oh, the key for value.
itself a dictionary, registrants bracket, and then the key you want to index into is perfectly valid syntax as well. So now let me go back to /registrants. Let me click reload again. So why isn't it working, everyone? What's the bug that I introduced earlier? If David is registered for none and Carter is registered for none, but David and Carter are in the dictionary, like that's a good thing. So some of the data is in there. So why are there no sports associated?
He hasn't
the first thing
passed.
I literally just did in front of you all was I went to app.py and I stared at line 17 thinking like, how did I screw this up? I'm putting sport as the value of the key, which is the student's name. All right, line 17 looked fine to me a few seconds ago, so I looked then with my eyes at line 16, and this too looked okay. My first thought was, oh, did I use request.args instead of request.form instead? Because that would have assumed get instead of post. But no, like that looks okay too. So then my final instinct was, oh my god, did I screw up the HTML form? And so that's why I went back over to my tab here. I went to the original form here. I then view page source, and this might not be as obvious to you if you've never seen the select menu before. What is apparently missing here that might explain my mistake? Yeah, I didn't name this form field quote-unquote sport. Now, to be fair, you haven't seen me do this as a select menu before, and it's different from this input. When you have an input tag, you literally say name equals whatever on the input tag. It turns out, I don't know why I skipped this earlier. I probably meant to come back to it. The select tag also can take a name parameter. So if I go back to the name parameter here and go back and add the name parameter, let me go into that template, which is index.html. Let me add name equals quote-unquote sport in all lowercase, which is different from the visual aesthetic of this temporary disabled option that's just there to make things prettier for the human. Now, let me go ahead here and first
So this kind of like
my terminal window. And I'm actually going to hit Control-C to stop the server altogether, because I'm going to throw away the contents of memory and therefore get rid of that dictionary that had David and Carter and those none values. So this is sort of me clearing the computer's memory. I'm going to rerun Flask run. I get that same URL as before, so I'm going to hover over that and open the new tab. And just to be sure, I'm going to do view page source. And here I see now, OK, now the form has both a name and a sport in it. All right, now I'm really going to cross my fingers, because I intend for this now to work. David will register again for soccer. Register. Claims we are registered. I'm going to go back and do it again for Carter and basketball. Registered. We still don't have a link, so I'm going to manually go up to the URL and change /register to registrants as before, zooming out and hit enter, and thank God, now I'm actually registered properly for this. So, thank you. So what is it, like
I think
20
this
years
thing
later,
is gonna
I'm
do
still
is to like
struggling
hyperlink
to
or like include a link href, then it can link them to the HTML file that he wants.
Work for any of you, and it's currently served privately, but if I made this URL public, I could put this on the web now and let anyone in the world register. But there's kind of some issues here. There's some security flaws potentially, and so for instance, let me go back to the web form here, and let me open up the Inspect tab, the developer tools, and just remind you that anyone on the internet, not only you, the developer, but an adversary, can see all of your HTML, see all of your CSS, see all of your JavaScript, but more importantly, because this is all client-side in the browser, there is literally nothing technically stopping them from changing the HTML, or at least their copy of it. And I did that last week with Yale. I changed their website, but no, I changed my copy of their website. But when forms get involved, you could maybe be actually malicious now. Because even though this drop-down menu only has basketball, soccer, and ultimate frisbee, suppose I really want to register for, how about, let's say, name your favorite sport. Volleyball. We really want to register for volleyball, but like this website won't let me. Well, there's nothing stopping me from going under the Elements tab in my browser, going into the select menu here, and you know what? Ultimate frisbee. Let's change this to volleyball, and let's change this to volleyball. Enter. I'm going to close the inspector now, and as requested, now we support volleyball in the form. Now, it's not changed there.
Okay, I see where this is going.
When I fill out this with, say, let's say Bernie's name, Bernie really wants to register for volleyball as well. At the moment, my code is just going to trust that what's in request.form is what was in the original form itself, no matter whether the human adversarially actually changed it. So if I actually
submit client side.
Even though that's not one of the supported available sports, if I now go to registrants, my website nonetheless has trusted that Bernie and perhaps you are registered for volleyball. So what's the implication of this? This has surely happened in the past when like really poorly implemented websites allow you to specify the price of an item, for instance, in your shopping cart, and they just trust that when you click submit or add to cart, it adds the price to the backend server. If you're not validating the price and making sure it's in the database.
Let's go. Gotta scan. This is like in like tech support level kind of scam. It's like you're instructing like this 60-year-old woman, go to your inspect source code, then you're going to type in $5,000 instead of $50 into the bracket. Then you're going to type in your credit card details.
wait a minute, that price is valid, or wait a minute, those sports are valid. Like, who knows what people are going to do to your site? And it's that simple to actually hack a website accordingly. Now, we can very easily fix this with some week 6 style Python. We really just need to do a bit of logic here. And so let me propose this. Let me go into app.py here. And at the very top, let me also create, how about a global variable called sports in all caps. And I'm going to set that equal.
Yeah, but it's quite funny. I can't imagine like this working back in the day. Like, so like change price, change, bar.
Equal to, in square brackets, the list of sports I actually want to support. So I'm going to put in basketball here, I'm going to put in soccer here, and I'm sorry, no volleyball officially. I'm going to put in ultimate frisbee here. So I've got this global list of supported sports. Now think about how I made this form a while ago. I just hard-coded these sports here. Well, I don't have to do that. I can sort of draw upon my own official list of sports instead. So
Okay, so and restrict / check against list. Good day, I am Mr. XXX from Microsoft. I am calling you about your computer's extended warranty. It is to my knowledge that you have not updated to Windows 11. Could you please give me your credit card information and the last 3 digits, your credit card number, the last 3 digits, and the expiration date, so that I can upgrade your Windows to Windows 11 to stop a computer virus?
let me scroll down to my index.html rendering template here. Let me say that the sports I want to support are these. So just using the same placeholder trick as before, but I'm now telling the template what sports we currently support. Now if I go back into index.html, I don't have to manually do any of this. Let me get rid of all 3 of those options, which I manually inputted earlier. Let me use my new trick with Jinja syntax and say for sports in sports. Then
oh my god, I can tell like this stupid Jinja syntax thing is going to be stupid. Like I'm not going to be able to like pick this up.
Also sees the same words, I'm going to say sport out here. So I've completely changed what was hard-coded, manually typed, to something now that's completely dynamic.
To be honest, now it's a very advanced tactical scam. Okay, yeah, true. Like, you know how like people and things evolved, right? Scams have literally evolved to become very significantly more sophisticated.
So now it's not going to stop someone adversarially like me from changing the HTML, but watch this. The behavior on the form, if we go back, is still
Like
now
scams nowadays is more social engineering than it is anything.
the same drop-down as before. So aesthetically, it looks the same. But you know what? Why don't we be clever now? And let's go into app.py and the /register route, and why don't we say this? If, how about sport, not in sports, then let's return render template failure.html. Now this template doesn't exist yet, so let me just quickly make this real fast. I'm going to copy that code from before. Let me create a code file in failure.html. I'm just going to paste this here, so we have a super simple error message, and I'm going to say you are not registered, just to...
Okay, so make this check against this, then set conditionals. Set conditionals. For if on list / not on list. Okay, I probably should check documentation. I know, right? Every day on the scam, every day on the news for I don't know how long already. Yeah, I don't know how it is like across the pond, but at least in here, right, there's like multiple scams, both involving not only like what you consider more vulnerable people, like the older generation, but even university students are getting scammed, and like what the hell, man?
That's what we mean by failure. And now in app.py, consider what logic I've added. Sports, in all caps on line 22, is that same global list as before. By asking Pythonically, if sport, not in sports, well then you hacked me. Like you tried to inject volleyball or some other sport into request.form. So I'm just going to say, no, failure, not letting you register. And I can do this a little more verbosely too. Why don't I also say this? If not name. So if the name is blank, let's similarly return a render template of failure.html. In other words, if you didn't give me a name, you left it blank, that's not useful for me running this.
Oh, okay. Damn, I need to be quite critical here. Can also set for any invalid input. Yeah, the most not say tragic, but there's one where the more famous one that I heard of was apparently the bank teller in OCBC managed to stop a love scam from going through. Apparently, like a 60-year-old or like 70-year-old lady was brought into OCBC by a 20-year-old guy, and then it's like, oh, 可以把钱 okay wait I don't know if you can understand Chinese but basically can you transfer this amount of money or take out this amount of money from my bank account. Then the bank teller was like, huh, something ain't right. Then it managed to stop a love scam from happening. So it's like I don't know, man, how is it getting easier and easier?
sports program. Let's
Even when there's a whole like national a whole national, not say PSA but like national campaign, there we go, against these sorts of scams.
consider that to be a failure. So if I go back to this tab now, I'm going to reload just to make sure I have the latest client side. Let me be lazy and just click register, enter. You are not registered because I didn't give it an actual name. All right, well, let's go back. How about I now type David, but I'm not going to choose a sport. I just want to register myself. Nope, that did not work now. Let me go ahead here and choose soccer. This, I think, does work. Let me go back now and try this hacker trick whereby I go into
Hacker
the drop-down
trick.
menu.
Hacker
I go
mans.
into the select menu.
I'm hacker
I change as
mans.
before ultimate frisbee to volleyball, and I'll change this one here to volleyball. Let me close the tab now. This looks like it's available now, but when I click register this time, it says you are not registered. And this is much better than relying on other techniques you might see or have seen online with regard to HTML because there's all
Yeah, I fucking know, right? A 60-year-old lady and a 20-year-old definitely boyfriend goes into a bank. A 60-year-old and a 20-year-old walked into a bank. The 60-year-old says, "Can I draw my life savings?"
So this trick, let me go back to the screen here. Let me go back to index.html, and you might have seen online, or you might eventually see online, that there's other attributes you can use, like required. You can literally tell the browser, this field is required. You cannot leave it blank. If I go back to the browser,
Oh, required type HTML.
browser now, reload, and I again presume to be lazy, and I don't type in any name and click register. Okay, so that's kind of nice. Like now the browser is being a little more helpful for me, saying, no, this is required. You have to fill this out. But again, if you know what you're doing, okay, well, I disagree with your requiring a name of me.
Well, if you stay in this country with either one is a Dan Sri title, then yup, it's possible. Is Dan Sri? Wait.
Hey, let me go in here.
Wait. Dan Sri is, huh? Wait, Dan Sri. Oh, Malay styles and titles. Oh, you're saying like if like Malaysian royalty lah. Okay, look, like we have seen royal lineages, and we have literal children up at the helm of leading a country before. It's a Malaysia title for people they do great proper service to the country. Yeah, I mean, I'm just not that particularly educated in the whole titles thing. But if it's a titles or like a royalty thing, right? Having a 20-year-old, like even married to a 60-year-old, is, I would say, not out of the norm, looking at a lot of historical lineages.
Here, let me go over to this tag. Let me delete the required attribute, and now I slip through. But I didn't slip through on the server. And so there's a difference here, and an important distinction, and so many people in the real world still screw this up. There's client-side validation, like actually checking that the data is as you expect on the client side, the browser, and there's server-side validation. And even though client-side validation, like adding that required attribute, makes things more user-friendly, right? Like that was a pretty little pop-up. It tells me that it's required. It just looks better than the previous version. It is not trustable. You cannot trust any input that ever comes from the user, because clearly, with like an hour or so of CS50, like they can learn how to turn all of these defenses on.
Don't-
Even if you like the user
don't
interface
trust
better
the
client
user.
side, you have to do server-side validation always. Users are not to be trusted. And as soon as
Think
any app or
of
website you make
all
becomes popular,
the
unfortunately, then you
users
have to deal with all the adversarial
as,
possibilities.
I don't know, anonymous.
Oh, good question. Could the adversary potentially access things sensitive like app.py? Theoretically, no. Like if Flask itself is buggy, then sure, maybe. If you're running some other software on your server, on your laptop, then sure, it's possible. However, if your server's properly configured, theoretically, they should not be able to get access to that. With that said, we'll soon see, or you might with your final project, if you do something web-based, you're never going to want to write like usernames and passwords in your actual code.
Never. Okay, so they should not be able to access the actual file website. Imagine that is true, and you can suddenly gain access to Instagram. Holy shit. Because I'm pretty sure Instagram is also written on Python.
You can put them in what are called environment variables. So sort of
Okay, put shit in environment.
in the computer's memory, but not in your code, just in case you or someone screws up. There are still ways to defend against those kinds of possibilities, however slim. Yeah? A good question, and this comes back to the first principles, just like in C and in Python. As soon as you return from a function, that's it. Nothing below that line of code executes. And so to summarize the question, even though I'm returning this failure.html template, how am I making sure we still don't accidentally put volleyball in that global dictionary? It's because, for instance, if you do give me a name on line 22 at the moment, I'm returning the failure template, and that's it. Lines 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 never execute. In particular, 26 never executes, and that's where I would have been saving the name. Similarly, if we get an invalid sport that is either blank or not in the original authoritative list, we return failure.html as a template in line 25. We never get to line 26. So it just boils down to return and what that means in Python too. Good question. Other questions as well? No? All right, how about we make one more enhancement here or so, because the problem with storing everything in this global dictionary might be what? We've got it all working, finally, but why is probably a global dictionary not the place to store FrostIM's registration data? What's the implication of this? Okay, might slow the whole process down, but RAM is actually good. Memory is actually generally a good thing, so not going to be a deal breaker here. Why might I not want to store that data, though, in that variable?
You probably want to store it on another file somewhere.
Yeah, the memory gets deleted, garbage collected, if you will, as soon as Flask stops running. So if you so much as hit Control-C, like you've just lost all of your freshmen who registered for the sport.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you should put another file.
I did this deliberately a moment ago, and I hit Control-C because I did want to clear the dictionary, but trusting that your server will never crash and your code will always work and the power will never go out, like that's not the right way to build any kind of web application with persistent data. So what we probably want to do is reintroduce CSVs, and we've played with those in C and in Python. Could totally use CSVs, but we also now have SQL at our disposal. And let me propose that we do this in SQL instead. And for this, let me go ahead and open up a version of the program that I wrote in advance. So let me go ahead and close these templates, which will look very similar but a little different from the ones I wrote in advance. And let me go ahead and open up in today's, let me go into source 9, let me go into FrostIM's, how about version 4, technically in the versions online, and let me go ahead and open up app.py as follows. So here is an already made version that does just a little something different. At the very top, I'm importing CS50 SQL library, which you might recall we used a couple of weeks past just to write Python that talks to a SQL database. And this feels like an opportune moment to bring that idea back. Down here on line 8, I'm creating a DB variable that opens up a file called frostims.db using syntax that we've seen before. I did create this frostims DB file in advance of class just so that we have a couple of columns in which to store names and sports and such. Here's that same global array, a global list called sports, and let's just see what's going on down below. If I scroll down to index, this is the same as before, as we wrote together on the fly. Let's skip deregister for a moment and go now into register. So this one's a little different, but let's see what I've done. I've got some comments in here because I wrote it in advance, and I think this logic is pretty much the same, though I tightened it up, and I'm asking two questions at once using on line 38 the OR keyword here, just to say if there's not a name or the sport is not in sports, that is what we'll call now a failure. But what's fun now is that on line 42, I'm using the CS50 SQL library to execute some actual SQL. And I'm going to insert into a table called registrants two columns, name and sport. What names in sport? Well, these two values with placeholders, plugging in name and sport. Notice I'm using the question marks. Absolutely necessary, so we don't get one of those SQL injections.
Okay, so if we use database, we can inject. Okay, so if you're using database, use SQL insert or create. Okay.
Attacks, because that too could be possible if someone typed in some dangerous words or keywords like delete or single quotes or semicolons in the form. Here, I'm letting the library sanitize the data. And then this is a trick we haven't yet seen, and it's really going to start tying things together. I can also use a redirect function in Flask that has the effect of doing the if you will, safetyschool.org trick again, whereby after the user registers, if I want to automatically show them now everyone who is registered at /registrants, I don't have to manually expect that they'll change the URL like I've been doing for the past few minutes. I can just redirect them anywhere I want on my app, or heck, I could redirect them to any URL on the internet using this function call. And it's just a nice way to send them to a different route.
I know if that function exists everywhere though.
So let me do this. In the same directory, let me increase my terminal window size. Let me do SQLite 3 of frostims.db, and let me type .schema. and you can indeed see it wraps onto 2 lines here, that each registrant has an ID, which will be automatically assigned 1, 2, 3 on up, a name, which is not null text, and a sport, which is also the same. And the primary key is just going to be this unique identifier. So that I made in advance. But if I do select star from registrants, semicolon, there's no one currently registered for any sports. But let's try now running this. Let me go ahead and close my old version, which we wrote together. And I'll close that tab. Let me do Flask run in this version 4 here. All right, I'm going to see some similar output. I'm going to open the URL now, and you'll see that I made a couple of changes before. Instead of using a select menu, I used what are called radio buttons now, which is a reference to old school radio buttons that were mutually exclusive in cars back in the day. And we'll see how to do this, but it's just an alternative to a select menu. And I'm going to go ahead and type in my name again here. So I'll do David. I'll do soccer by selecting this radio button, and I'm going to click register now. And notice what happened. It's a little ugly, the formatting, but so again was this 20 years ago. Here I have now, at the /registrants route, instead of an unordered list, I'm just using a simple HTML table. So I'll show you what this looks like in just a moment too. And I'll show you this deregister button, which is sort of unnecessarily large. I also have functionality we'll soon see for how you can unregister someone from a sport as well. So take your name out of contention. Well, let me go back to my terminal window here, and I'm going to click the plus to give myself a second terminal, so I can go back into source 9, frosh.ims 4. I'm going to do SQLite of frosh.ims.db. I'm going to do select star from registrants now, and now you'll see that, indeed, there's David registered for soccer. And in fact, if I quit the Flask program with Control-C and rerun it again, no big deal, because that next version of Flask will just use the database as well. So I'm persisting, keeping the data in SQLite, whereas I'm actually grabbing it using my Python code in Flask.
Okay.
All right, let's put one more person in here so we
Makes
can
sense.
delete one of us too. Carter for basketball. Register, and now we see both of us here. All right, so let's see how we did this. Let's go back over to VS Code. Let me shrink down my terminal window. Let me go into the let's go into the templates directory, and let's look at, for instance, index.html. So previously we were using a select menu. Turns out radio buttons use the input tag, but instead of having an input of type equals text, like for the human's name, you have type equals radio. And so long as each of your radio buttons has the same name, the same name, the same name, that's what makes them mutually exclusive. So checking one radio button turns off the others because they have the same name.
Wait.
So checking one radio button turns HTML. So previously we were using a select menu. Turns out radio buttons use the input tag, but instead of having an input of type equals text, like for the human's name, you have type equals radio. And so long
they're
as
mutually
radio buttons have
exclusive?
the same name, the same name.
Okay. So type radio is, I guess, mutually exclusive. Exclusive when name equals constant. Okay.
Same name, that's what makes them mutually exclusive. So checking one radio button turns off the others because they have the same name. The value I want to assign to each of these radio buttons is just the sport placeholder. This is what the human sees on the screen, so it's almost the same as the select menu. It just looks aesthetically different. But there's my same button. So that's all the difference I made there, and I added a heading tag, h1, just to say register to make clear what it is. But let's take a look at another file, this one now being how about the /registrants route. So if I open up registrants.html, here now, it's way more verbose than my unordered list, but this is just kind of boring HTML. Here's my table tag, table head, table row, table heading. This makes things bold as the first row of the table. Name, sport are my 2 columns. I've got a third empty column just so I can fit that button, as we'll soon see again. T-body for table body. Here's the same for loop trick again, so that I can output for every registrant a whole table row. And there's this weird form in there, but we'll come back to that. But there's the registrant's name, there's the registrant's sports. But notice the slightly different syntax here. Recall that CS50's execute function, when it returns to you a list of dictionaries, you can then get at the individual columns by way of those keys. So let's go to the /registrants route. Let me go back to app.py, scroll down here, and it's actually super simple. Here, I have a /registrants route that first executes select star from registrants. So
oh my god, no. Okay, yeah. Okay. This might get, I guess, a little tricky because I'm not sync of SQL that way yet. So the selecting row from registrants. So, remember that database.execute. Then select whatever. Exists and can be tied to variable. Okay.
Registrants table. Let me then render the template called registrants.html and just pass in this list of dictionaries. And we haven't quite done this yet, but if you go back to registrants.html, how do you iterate over each dictionary in that list? Well, the syntax is just for registrant in registrants. That makes this a dictionary, one at a time in the list, just like in Python. So registrant.name and registrant.sport is just another syntax for using the square bracket notation. It's just a little cleaner and slightly more succinct than having quotes and square brackets everywhere. And then the rest of this is just HTML. So what happens now if I want to, like Carter has been cut from the basketball team, if you will. So how do we do that? Well, we want to click this button, deregister, next to Carter's name. But But how does this work? And think about now any website you visited that has something like a shopping cart where you can remove things from your cart or update quantities or add more quantities to your shopping cart on Amazon or anything else. Well, let's actually look at the HTML that my app has spit out. Let's actually look at this here, and we'll see the following. We'll see that we have here in the HTML that reached the user, not only is David in the first column, soccer in the second, notice that my registrants.html form is also spitting out a tiny little web form of its own. It's ugly, but I only care about its functionality for now. And notice what I'm doing here. Every registrant in this database gets their very own deregister
hidden
button. And that form has a button that says deregister. But
huh? Alright, gotta go now, all the best for CS. Alright, bye man. Thank you for popping by. Have fun, hopefully, wherever you are. See ya. Thank you for coming.
notice what else each of those forms have. There's no text box, there's no drop-down menu, there's no radio buttons. Rather, you have a hidden input field here. So there is a way with HTML to have a form that will submit information, but you don't have to give the user the ability to change that information. You can just go ahead and tuck it inside of the form invisibly, if you will, hidden. In fashion. And so what's going to happen is if I click the deregister button next to Carter, his primary key is 2. Mine is instead 1. So what's going to happen if I click his deregister button, it submits a form with a ID parameter whose value is 2, and it submits it to the deregister route. So what does that mean? Well, if I go to VS Code and I go to app.py, let's look at the deregister route that I skipped over. So if you access the deregister route via post, this code gets called. I grab from request.form the ID that was submitted in hidden fashion. If there's indeed an ID, that is, it's not blank, it's not 0, it's an actual number like 1, 2, 3, or more, I execute delete from registrants where ID.
Okay. So, auto-generate form.
Equals that value with a question mark placeholder. And then I redirect the user back to registrants.
Okay, so auto-generate form that when clicked sends executes JS that will yeet from database. Okay.
Now, if I go back to this form here, I click deregister, we'll see that in action. Gone is now Carter. And in fact, if I go back to my terminal window here, I open up SQLite 3 of frosh.ims.db and rerun select star from registrants, Carter is now gone. So again, using very simple HTML forms, you can get buttons and links and other such UI mechanisms to like do things on the server that you want, but there is a danger here. This now is really meant, this example is like an administrative website, like it was some 20 years ago, just for us internal staff to be doing things. Technically, this is dangerous, what I've just done too. Even though Carter's ID is 2 and hidden, and mine is 1 and hidden, what could this allow an adversary to do if they had admin access to the same site? Any thoughts? Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, they could change the value of that hidden attribute by opening up Chrome's like developer tools, change the number in the HTML. They could delete anyone, deregister anyone they want from the database. Now, in this case, I claim this is fine because this is only meant for us staff who were running sports back in the day, but it's indeed a risk. So wouldn't it be nice if we could actually ensure that only those users who are authorized are allowed to execute certain actions? I think for this capability, we're actually going to need to introduce something a bit more. And so here, of course, is an opportunity to talk briefly about really what you and I do all day long every.
Okay, we should.
day, we log into one or more websites or apps, or at least until you're logged out automatically and you have to do it again. So here, for instance, is a screenshot of Gmail. When you type in your username, you type in your password, maybe your two-factor code that gets texted or sent to your phone, then you're logged in. And thankfully, you're not prompted to log in again typically for a number of hours or days or weeks, depending on the website. Like Gmail keeps you logged in for ages. Your bank probably logs you out within an hour or so for safety's sake. So that is completely configurable on the server. But how does Gmail know, how does Google know that even as you're checking different mails again and again and again, how do they know that you're still the same person who logged in? Well, it turns out that using these same building blocks as today, HTTP and HTML and more, you can actually implement the notion of a login feature by doing the equivalent of something with something called cookies. Essentially what happens when you first log into a website for the very first time successfully with your username and password, a cookie, so to speak, is planted on your computer. And metaphorically, this is kind of like taking a hand stamp.
Okay, cookies. I've seen the Tom Scott video on this. So on first login, it will register the identity of the user.
And your hand is now stamped, in this case a smiley face, so that every other time you click on a link on that same website, google.com, gmail.com, whatever, unbeknownst to you, your browser is constantly presenting that hand stamp, just like going into a club or an amusement park or something like that, where they don't want to check your ID again, they don't want to check your ticket again, they just want to quickly see the same hand stamp. And so that is one of the things that a browser is always doing for you once you're logged in. Any cookies that have been planted, so to speak, in your Mac or PC or phone are constantly represented to the site every time you click a link or make another request to that website. And mechanically how this works, not just metaphorically in ink, essentially this is what happens. Here is an example of an HTTP request to something like Gmail. And suppose, for instance, that you've logged in. Typically, as of last week, we said that coming back from the server would be another virtual envelope containing like a 200 OK message, and then like the actual web page or the picture of a cat or whatever it may be. But Google can also, if they've verified that you have some username and password correctly inputted, they can do the equivalent of stamping your hand. And the way they do this is they send an additional line of text in that virtual envelope from the server to your browser, literally using another HTTP header, not content type, which just mundanely tells you what kind of content has come back. They literally send an HTTP header called set-cookie. And then they set a key value pair on your Mac or PC. This is the technical equivalent of the smiley face hand stamp. And what your computer is designed to do, because your computer and in turn browser are supposed to implement HTTP, anytime you click another link on Gmail or click on another mail or the like, your browser, unbeknownst to you, presents that hand stamp. And how it does it technically is, in the envelope it sends to Google from your browser, it doesn't send set cookie, it just sends cookie, colon, and the exact same thing. And so long as Google is smart and they have a database or something of all of the session values, session is the technical term for this maintenance of information across HTTP, so long as Google has a big database that knows that my cookie value is 123 and your cookie value is 456, they can infer from this virtual hand stamp whose emails they should be showing, mine or yours or the like. So this is just scratching the surface, but if I really wanted to enable only Carter to deregister himself, I just have to make sure that I log him in somehow, username, password, and all of that. I stamp his hand, or really put a cookie on his computer, and only if his cookie lines up with the user ID he's trying to deregister should he be allowed to in fact do so. So all of this is quite possible, and indeed the technical term for this is session. And what we thought we'd do in our remaining time today is show you some examples of exactly how some of the most familiar web functionality is implemented today, some of which you'll use in your own problem set 9, which itself will be a web app, or perhaps even your final project. So let me go ahead and do this. Let me close my previous tabs and all things Frosh IMs, and let's move on to implementing some notion of login. So in just a moment, I'll switch over here to VS Code, and what I'm going to do is, indeed, in my source9 directory, I'm going to go into a login directory. And if I type ls here, you'll see app.py, requirements.txt, which just refers to libraries I want to automatically install, and a templates folder as well. I'm going to go ahead and stop the previous server and close that terminal window. And I'm going to open up this version of app.py. So there's a few new lines here, and we'll give you these lines for problem set 9. But I've got some of the familiar stuff up here, including this new redirect function we just used. And I have a session variable that comes with Flask 2. So what's nice again about Flask is that it deals with all of this cookie stuff for you. It sets the cookie, it checks the cookie, and what Flask does for you is it gives you the abstraction of a variable called session, so that anything you put in the session variable, which itself is a dictionary, will be there again and again and again whenever that same user comes back. A session is how you implement, essentially, like the proverbial shopping cart. If I'm logged into Amazon, you're logged into Amazon, Amazon knows which of us is which by way of that cookie, and Amazon, if they're using Flask, provides the programmer with a dictionary called session, and Flask makes sure that when Carter's visiting the site, the code uses the session object. When I'm visiting the site...
So Flask, so for cookies, Flask has session. Okay.
it uses my session object, but it's all implemented with those same cookies. This is the same as before. These lines are new, and you'll see these in problem set 9. This is how we enable sessions in a web application. And I'll just wave my hands at the detail. There's different ways to implement sessions, whether you use cookies on the server, cookies on the browser, or other things. These just ensure that we're storing the session information, the shopping cart, on the server itself. Now down here, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and run Flask run so I can see what this app does. If I do this and visit the URL that gets outputted, you'll see a very simple web page here. And if I type in, for instance, my name, I'm not going to bother with a password, and click log in, you'll see that you are logged in as David. And now I can log out. So I'm going to go ahead and click log out. And now it seems to know that I'm not logged in again. I can log in as Carter because I didn't bother implementing passwords for simplicity, but now the site knows I'm logged in as Carter. Better yet, if I reload, or click this button again and again, notice it still knows that I'm Carter until such time as I log out. All right, well, how is this working? Well, let's go back to VS Code here, and let me scroll down to first this route. This is a very common paradigm here, whereby I'm checking for the index route. If there is not a name in the session, redirect the user to /login. Now, what does that mean? Well, let me go back to VS Code here. Let me go to the slash route. So again, your URL will be different, but I'm just going to go to slash and hit enter. Notice that I got automatically redirected to login. And so many websites do this. If you go to a website and you're not logged in, you're very often redirected to /login or /account or something like that where you're prompted. The code for doing that is right here. If there's no name in the session, if there's no name in the shopping cart, if you will, go ahead and return the user to login, that route. Otherwise, implicitly, if they are logged in, show them index.html. So let's go down that rabbit hole. Let me open up in VS Code a second terminal window. Let me go into source 9 and go into this same login demonstration. And let me open up the template called index.html. And here's all this is. There's some layout, but who cares at this point? It's just the boilerplate generic HTML. Here's the body block. I have this, and this too is Jinja because of the curly brace and the % sign. If there's a name in the session, this is just Python syntax, then say this sentence. You are logged in as whatever name is in the session, in the shopping cart, if you will. And then I just have this HTML link for logging the user out. Else, if there is no name in the session, logically, just say you are not logged in and give them a manual link for logging in instead. So that's all this particular template does. But how does the /login work? Well, let's go into this other template, code of login.html, to which I'm redirected. Super simple. This is just copy paste from HTML before. I've got a login form that's going to have an action of /login, submits for privacy's sake just via post. And then the rest of this is just a simple form. And I'm using an input type equals submit instead of button equals type equals submit, but same idea here too. And if I go back to app.py, well, let's see how login works. All right? It's a lot all at once, but they're relatively simple reapplications of the same idea. So if the user visits /login via get or post, call this function login. If the user has submitted via post, and we saw this technique before, go ahead and do this on line 23. Store in this special session variable that comes with Flask a name key and store in it the user's own name. So quote unquote name will have a value of David or Carter or the like. And as soon as you do that, redirect the user back to /, just so they see the home page again. And this is how Amazon and all these other websites work too. Otherwise, if they visit this page implicitly via get, and even though I didn't say equals get anywhere, that's sort of the implication. Because if you can only get here via get or post, and we already handled post, logically all that remains is get, well then just show them the login screen instead. But there's half a dozen ways we could express that same logic. And then for logout, this is kind of straightforward. If the user clicks that logout link and ends up at /logout, this route, well, just change the value of that key in the session to be none. Effectively, no, Carter's gone, David's gone, there's no one logged in. So that is all that's required to actually implement the notion of logging in and logging out of a website, plus the password thing, which should probably involve a database, but one thing at a time. And really, session is sort of like the code version of a shopping cart, whereby if I visit the same code, I get my own session object. If Carter visits the website, he gets his own session object. And the way Flask keeps us straight is they put one cookie on my computer, a different cookie on his computer, and uses those to line up with, making sure the right session gets shown to the right actual user.
Okay.
Questions on this notion of sessions? No? All right, how about a couple final examples just to tie this all together? Let me go back into VS Code here. Let me quit my previous version of Flask. Let's go into source 9 and go into store, which is a separate app altogether. And let's start by just running Flask to see what it does. Let's hover over the URL and open it in another tab. And this is pretty ugly too. Let me zoom in. But it's a very simple bookstore, like an early Amazon.com for each of these 7 books here, each of which seems to be like, maybe this is H1, this is H2, 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 and then there's a button underneath each. Well, now let's use this as an opportunity to kind of infer, like for any website, how this thing works. Let me go ahead and do view page source, and you can do this for any website on the internet. Let's try to figure out how this bookstore adds things to a cart. Well, here's the H1 tag, uninteresting, H2, H2, H2. So the juicy part is in these forms. Each of these forms has an action of /cart, so that's the route that's going to be interesting in a moment, and it uses post for privacy's sake. Each of these forms, like the deregister feature for Carter, has an ID attribute, an ID parameter that's hidden visually that has a value of 1 or 2 or 3, so like the unique like barcodes for the books, if you will, but super small numbers in our case. And then each of these other forms each of these other books has an identical form except for the value of this here. Now in this case, this isn't such a big deal that a user could technically hack the HTML of this bookstore, Amazon.com, and change the IDs, because whoa, what's the worst they're going to do? Like buy more books by adding more IDs to their shopping cart? Like that's not a problem. There's no prices here. It's just the unique ideas of books. So whereas the deregister was maybe worrisome because you're changing the server, I think it's okay because the user can only at worst buy more books than they might via the buttons alone. So how does this now work? Well, let's go into VS Code again here. Let me give myself another terminal window, and in source9/store, let me open up app.py, which is where all the logic is. So I'll flip through most of this quickly because we've seen this before. These imports are pretty much the same as before. This line is the same. This line is almost the same, but the database now is called store.db instead of frosh.ims.db. This is the boilerplate code for just enabling sessions, this notion of a shopping cart. And so let's see how the index works. How is it I'm seeing all 7 books at once? Well, in this index function, I'm using on line 19, select star from books to get all the books from the database. And then I'm rendering a template called books.html, passing in as a placeholder all of those books. All right, let's go down that rabbit hole for a second. Let me open up books.html in my templates directory. And here again, even though it's new today, it's probably increasingly familiar syntactically. Here's the H1. Here is my loop. Here's the H2, which is going to output the current book's title in that loop. Here's the form. Here's the ID of that book that's going to be outputted in the form. So I didn't manually type out 7 long forms. I just did one in this template so that it gets generated automatically, literally what a website like Amazon would do to show you 10 books at a time or 10 search results or more at a time. All right, well, let's go to /cart, which was the juicy one. And this one's longer, but let's see if we can reason through it. If the user submits via get or post to /cart, well, we first do this. And this is just necessary in some boilerplate rewrote. We're going to use the session object to store a variable called cart that in this case is going to be a list. So session, again, is just a dictionary. You can put anything in it you want.
Okay.
Previously, we put students' names and sports. Now, what I want to do is actually, previously we put the student's name, the user's name in it. Now, I'm going to actually store a cart key whose value is a list. Why? Because I want to aggregate more and more books in this list. All right, so that just makes sure that I have at least an empty shopping cart the very first time the user does this. If they visit this form via post, let's go ahead and get the ID of the book that they posted. If it is not empty, if there is a number like 1 or 2 or 3, let's go ahead and go into the shopping cart, which is a list, per this line, and just append that ID. So this list of books in your shopping cart is going to contain like 1, 2, 4, 6, whatever books you're actually buying. And then the user gets redirected to cart. What if, though, the user got here via get and not post? Well, this one's relatively straightforward. If you just visit /cart, we select star from books, where ID is in, okay, so this is interesting, this list. And this is syntax you might not have seen before, but if you read the documentation for CS50's library, if you select something and use a question mark placeholder, and the placeholder itself is a list, we output a comma-separated list of values, just like you would use maybe in problem sets 7 for doing SQL queries on your own. So this just means show me only those books in my shopping cart, not Carter's, not someone else's, not in the whole database. Only show me the books in my shopping cart, and then render it as such. So we only saw what the catalog here looks like at /books. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and add maybe the first book to my cart, and now I see at /cart only that first book, whose ID is 1. Let me now go back to the bookstore here, scroll down to maybe the 7th book, and add that to my cart, and now I see this here too. Meanwhile, all of this information is stored in my
Oh shit. Wait. No way. Oh my fucking god. Alright, give me a moment. Yo. Wait a moment. No fucking way. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, wait, what the fuck? Wait.
You don't understand, okay? No, okay. So where were you? Okay.
Wait, can the stream fucking hear you?
Okay, there's echo. How do I deal with this echo?
Oh no, because are you logged into my stream also? Then you can just
Yes,
turn
try
on my
get out of it.
yeah, just turn on my stream. You're currently in it anyway.
Okay, I'm out of it. Okay, wait. Okay, you don't get it in
Oh
20
my
minutes.
fucking
it's-
god.
I don't even know. Okay, the thing is that okay, you know, there was so much emotions. I went through an emotional turmoil. Okay, I went into the episode thinking that was like the mid episode. I thought I was like, okay, you know, like I still have like another 6 more episodes to go. Like, oh, okay, you know, maybe it's fine.
Okay,
No,
wait,
that
wait.
was the last goddamn
I-
episode. Yes,
Wait,
okay, I'm
how many
thinking what?
episodes do you think there were?
I don't know, like 10, 15, like there was only 8. And like I was like, holy shit, okay? So and I think the worst part is that I was like doing like a little work, you know? I was like, oh, okay, let me just like study while this plays in the background, you know, cute, wholesome, oh my god, like, you know, friendship, oh, adventure. No, what I got, okay, let me tell you what I got. I got emotionally wrecked, okay? And I am so emotionally like wrecked that I don't know what to do anymore. That I just sat at my table and I stared for like 3 minutes because I don't know. I couldn't process whatever happened.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So okay, wait. You want to spoil? I
Sure,
spoil.
sure, I'm gonna watch it anyway, so sure.
Okay. So right, in like the last episode, we find out that Hilda is a goddamn fairy. Like, okay, she's like part
Hey
fairy.
yo!
And that explains like her blue hair, and then she has like grandparents who are like it's like in the fairy world, and you're like, okay, oh, that's cute, okay, you know, that kind of explains why she's like so like whatever, like, you know, she can talk to like the animals and like, okay, whatever. I was like, okay, cool, that's nice. And then she like gets trapped in the fairy mound again once more, and then
Okay,
after
okay,
that
okay.
there's like her mom, okay, and then
Uh-huh.
it turns out that her mom got trapped in there, and then it turns out like her grandparents were stuck in there, and then basically Joanna was just like, oh, like, I hate you, how could you leave me? And then no, turns out, guess what, the mom was so sick when she was young, so then they like went to like the okay, wait okay, okay, wait, so Joanna is actually a hybrid. She's like half like her mom's human and then her dad's fairy.
Ah.
Okay. So then
Okay.
like basically when she was born, she was really sick. So the two of them they went to like the island and they were like, hey, like can we like you know can you like fix my child? And they were like, only if you like give me your child like when she's
Oh my
10 years
god, is
old.
it
So
like a
then they
fucking
were-
Rumpelstiltskin like kinda
okay, no, but that's the thing. So I thought I was like, oh, okay, you know, some rubber still sticking thing. They tried to take the child. I was like, okay, sure.
Uh-huh.
And then like they like maybe find a nice way to like bring it back. Okay, so apparently like this is like some Asian auntie thing where you can bargain with the entity. So at the age of 10 years old, right? They like the island he was like, hey, where's my child that you promised me? And then the parents were like, hey, how about like you know just like a wild thought. Let's just like how about I give you like my life instead. So the parents took her place. So and the thing is that the parents didn't tell Joanna, who's 10 years old, so they just like left and then just left her in the custody of like the auntie, and that was so wild to me. Like they didn't even think like, okay, you know what, let's do like a 1-for-1 exchange. No, they gave like a 2-for-1, you know. So she was left like parentless at 10 years old, and it was like went to stand to live with like our auntie. I was like, okay, sure. And then so now we're all in like the whole like magical fairy place. Everything's been like revealed. They're like, oh, okay, that's nice. And then Hilda's there. Hilda's like excited. She's like fudge fairy, and you're like,
Uh-huh.
okay. And then it turns out they all can't leave now. And then you're like, question mark, question mark, question mark. So it turns out that like because Joanna's now reunited with like her parents, right? Correct. Like then the island's like, oh, the cycle's completed. So now like no one can leave. Then that's like that's not part of the bargain at all. And you're like, okay, sure. And so then now they're trying to get like everybody out. So then there's like Twig, right? So Twig like fucking howls at like the moon or something. And then he just and then he's like, oh, he's like howling and howling, and then everyone's like, what the hell are you doing? And then it turns out that like he's trying to get like the aurora borealis, don't know, whatever the bridge thing lah, to try and like go over to the world and save Hilda. But then everyone just yelled at him.
Yeah, I
and he was
remember
really
that. I remember that. Okay, okay.
yeah,
Continue.
exactly. Okay, and then after that, Frida was like, okay, I'm just gonna make him louder. So they managed to do that and go over. Okay, now the thing is that this whole point of time, I was like, okay, so Twig has found a way to get everybody out, right? Which means that he brings the bridge over, everyone just crosses the bridge, like they do some fight the island, and then they release. Okay, so the mom, Hilda, and the parents, the grandparents, they were
Uh-huh.
all like on the way to the bridge already. They, like the grandparents can bloody fly, okay? And they like spot the island, they're like, oh, that's good and everything. The auntie Hilda, like sorry, the auntie Astrid, she was like, she's like, oh, I'll stay back for you. And like y'all go, like I'll deal with the island. So we were like, oh, so I was like, okay. And then the four of them were on the bridge. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna have a happy ending. And then no, the grandparents were on the bridge. They just like stop flying and then just stay back and then the mom was just like, oh, they were never gonna come with us in the first place. And you're like, what? And then so you're like, okay. So 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 you were psyched to thinking that all four of them were gonna escape and then you're gonna live like this very nice like life together. And then like
Yeah lah,
all of a sudden,
happy ever after.
oh, yeah, but no, okay. So now Hilda and the mom is out in the real world. And they managed to get back. So then there's the grandparents, and then there's the Auntie Astrid who's left behind, who said she's going to deal with the island. So the Auntie Astrid is now dealing with like the entity, the island entity is now bargaining once more. So she's bringing out her entire like bargaining chip, and she's like, I know that basically you said you had a claim on Joanna, but then the parents took it over. But what if, right? We just forget all about it and you take me instead. And I was like, oh, so now Auntie Astrid was gonna
Uh-huh.
like sacrifice herself. And then I was like, oh my god, so emotional, right? And then but then I realized that no, when she sacrificed herself, it turns out that if she did it, the grandparents would still be at the same place also. And then we get a whole cutscene, and then like Auntie Astrid, and then we assume that Auntie Astrid is dying, and then like the mom's dying apparently because she's sick or whatever. And then no, apparently Auntie, and then after that, like some guy knocks on Auntie Astrid's door, and everyone's like really sad. And then she just freaking opens the door like nothing happens, and you're like, what's going on? It's like a wild, right? Because like I thought you were dying. I thought you were bargaining with the goddamn entity and saying that, hey, you know what? I'm gonna sacrifice myself. No, Victoria Van Gale comes in out of nowhere, and she says, "Hi, I'm willing to take my place. I'm willing to take your place because I need a place to live."
Wait,
And
who's
you're
Victoria?
just like, you remember the weather person?
Oh wait, she comes back. Wait.
She comes back, okay? She
Wait,
she
wait,
gets she
wait,
gets
wait.
lost in no man, and she comes back out of nowhere, and then she's just like, hey, you know, I need a place to live. How about I take your place instead? Like it was so wild to me that I was like, and reminder, this all happens in 20 minutes, okay?
Oh, this is the entire last episode,
This entire last episode. The entire last episode. Okay? And then like three people I thought were gonna die, okay? By the way, like when they save, like when Hilda and the mom gets back to like normal land, right? Correct? Like the main world or whatever.
Yeah.
Like Hilda's mom just like topples over and her face is green and she's sweating and she looks like really, really sick. And you're like, oh my god. And then Hilda's crying over her. Everyone's coming over. And then like even like her dad. Oh, by the way, her dad comes back. Like
What the fuck's going on?
we see her dad. Yeah, and then
Wait.
Yeah, and then
Hilda's
after
dad?
that,
Oh,
like, really-
Hilda's dad or Joanne's dad?
Hilda's dad.
Holy shit!
Yeah, okay. And then so they're all like over her body, like Joanna's body, and they're all like, oh my god, and they're like tearing up and crying. And then she just gets up like she's fine. And then they're like, Mom, and then she's like, oh yeah, it's okay, I'm fine. And you're like, what the hell?
Oh my fucking
Yeah,
god.
yeah. So Hilda's mom almost died. Auntie Astrid almost died. The Hilda herself, I'm pretty sure almost died too, if I remember correctly. Yeah, and then they all get back. And then it's happy ending, I guess. And then the grandparents are still stuck in the fairyland, by the way, for whatever reason. I have no idea.
What the fuck? You.
Do you see why I was in emotional wreck? Do you see why I was like confusion? And it was like, and it just ended, and I was like, wait, and I was like, no,
No.
this doesn't.
You know what this means? Season 4. Season 4, baby. Season 4. Season 4.
No.
Come on.
Actually, I'm not ready for that. I feel like if a season 4 comes out, like I would. I cannot live with that.
Hey,
like,
hey,
I need time
usually,
to
you know, and how
process
animation cycles work or not? Like the studio is contracted for like not say a season, but a set number of episodes, right? It's up to the distributor to either separate it into like season 1 or season 2, and they usually make shows in like one large chunk, then separate into season 1 and season 2 because the contract that binds payment for season, it goes by season number, so you actually to pay more like per full season versus like a whole chunk of episodes. So very, very well, right? Season 4 might have actually been made, but it's just being delayed for season 2, like another season afterwards. So we could be seeing a season 4.
Okay.
Season 4
Okay.
Hilda. Okay, now you saying this, right? I'm kind of excited to watch the.
You should watch it. You should watch it. You should watch it.
But
Dude,
cannot-
like like every episode brings me to like I'm like, oh my god. Wait, actually I should okay, let me pull out the list of episodes. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Let me pull it out. Let me
I'm currently
pull it
on
out. Let
I'm
me
currently
pull it
on
out and let
4,
me
so
you're currently what?
I'm currently on episode 4.
Episode 4, is it? Okay,
Yeah.
hold on.
The Sparrow Scouts one.
Season 1 had 13 episodes, season 2 had 13 episodes, season 3 only has 8. What do you like that? See, like I was completely
You watch
Like-
this on Netflix, right?
yeah, it's on Netflix. I was watching on Netflix.
Yeah. Don't they show you the episode list?
So like what like that?
As expected of
Why?
as expected.
Why would you look at
I
that?
don't know if
Exactly.
I'm not gonna say your name online, but as expected.
Thank you, please don't say my name online.
yeah, I'm not gonna say your name online. I'm cognizant of. I'm at least that cognizant, but as expected of you. It's okay.
Okay, no, I would like to say, right, okay,
Ah.
that I wish this whole season had like more things. I wish like they showed more of like Frida's like witch side, and then like David, and then like the whole. I feel like there was more they could explore and more storytelling they could have went through. I feel like Hilda got like slightly more annoying this season, but overall it was like it tied in very nicely. I feel like.
By slightly
I don't
more
know.
annoying, what do you mean by slightly more annoying?
Okay, so I rewatched season 1, 2, and 3, right?
Uh-huh.
So and I watched the whole like the Hilda and the Mountain King the movie as well.
Mhm,
So essentially, it feels very much of like how she just never learns her lesson. Like I get that her whole shtick is that she's very adventurous. She's very curious. She wants to
Oh,
go see here and things like that. But she
Mhm.
right, but it feels like she doesn't know how to assess dangerous situations, and she doesn't know how to like at least hold herself back, or
Uh-huh.
at least like grow. I guess you know maybe her prefrontal lobe just isn't like her prefrontal cortex just isn't fully developed yet. That's
You
like
know,
humbling.
they're like, okay, in season 1 and 2, she's like a child, basically, like a primary school kid. Then now,
Yeah, in season 3 she's like 13 years old.
now she's like
so,
teen, like early adolescence.
no, it's explicitly stated in like the last few episodes that she's 13.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So okay, I can't blame her. You're 13 years old. Yeah, we were all menaces. We were all like
Mhm.
screw you. I
we
know
were all
best.
13
you know?
once. Yep.
Yeah, okay, not fair. Fair. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Jeez, I couldn't believe that you were doing like math homework. Like what?
I'm
Computer
fucking
science
What do you mean
homework?
math homework? This is computer science.
It's the same thing. Okay, excuse me.
Yeah, but
Math-
this is just technically how my streams do go. Like I just stream, see whatever I'm doing, but as long as I'm consistent with it.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
If
You know-
yeah,
Do you play Stardew Valley?
I do. Why?
Basically, right? Like my friend came over, and then
Uh-huh.
like she was like me like how to like So I was showing her how I play.
Okay. I'm
And
not
everything.
gonna name names, but it's the one that you said was a brony, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, so she plays very min max, and she plays with like the whole meta, like the whole like Stardew like wiki and stuff, and I
Uh-huh.
don't. So
Uh-huh.
I've been playing it like however one might play
Uh-huh.
without a guide, and it was just 3 days, and she just lost her mind. So it turns out, right? Okay. So it turns out that you can plant your trees like at the edge of the greenhouses.
That's what you're
Um,
supposed to do, by the
you
way.
should- Yeah. Yes. Someone didn't do that lah. I don't know who lah. Yeah, but someone didn't do that lah. And then like apparently like there are good places to fish, and you don't just like walk to any like water and just like try.
Yeah.
And apparently there's like, good days to go mining, and
Yeah.
you should look at the luck and not just
Yes.
say, I'm gonna go to Skull Cabin today. and-
No, there's
Don't
a
check in the
reason that
TV.
you know there's a TV where you should always check like the day, your luck level and the weather tomorrow, right?
Okay, so I would like to say I know it exists, and I would like to say that 80% of the time I ignore it and I just go.
Yeah, which is why
go.
you need which is why you get the plugin which like automatically checks for the TV for you so that you don't need to do the task. Because checking for your luck is kind of important.
Yeah, you see, I don't do that. Okay, more, but I do that, but I ignore it completely.
Oh my
Like, if he
fucking
says I'm
god.
really good, I'll be like, okay, let's go to the. I'll be like, okay, wait, I'll just like, okay,
Oh my god,
like,
girl,
the
let's
really
go to the
stupid
mines
day,
today. I'm gonna pick
I
up a couple of
went.
diamonds.
No, it's not like that. It's more of
Yeah.
a tomorrow I'll go to the mines, and then I just go to the mines immediately. And I'll check the TV, and I'll go to the mines immediately.
You check the TV, then
So
you're like, but today not luck like not so good. Maybe let's just not go to the mine today.
okay, unless it says like the spirits are extremely, extremely, extremely displeased with you, then I will be like, okay, maybe today is not a very good day to like go to the mines. Then I will like, but there have been days where they'll say like you have extremely good luck today, and then I just go to the I just go to like the town area, and I just talk to every villager. And I just like open the trash, and then
What
I
you
just
gonna
go
do?
and like
Find gold in there?
open the
Like, oh, my luck is extremely great today. Maybe somebody out there like threw like some iridium bar. Oh, I'm gonna fish it out from the trash.
I would like to say that there have been times I've gotten like really good things out of the trash. Okay,
I know.
don't doubt the
I know
trash.
you live the Linus lifestyle, but like come on, man.
And apparently I picked like every wrong, like every level 5 and 10 you can like pick your own like thing,
Oh,
like
do you pick
the
every
whatever you
wrong
wanna
like
buy.
trait?
Yeah,
What do you mean wrong trait? Okay, what okay. For farming, what do you pick?
the thing that you can like chop more wood, you get more wood.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so that was the exact same reaction that my friend had.
Oh
She
my
was like,
fucking
bro, are you
god.
serious?
Well, okay, then what's the next profession? What's the next
Okay,
profession?
and then after that, so level 10 has level 10 for farming also has like two things, right? Artisan goods and like agriculturist, right?
Oh my god, you pick agriculturalist? Oh my
I
fucking
did.
god. You know, artisan is like the most overpowered like there's the most overpowered profession in the game, right?
No, okay, wait. I would like to say, okay, I had a reason of why I chose agriculturist.
Yeah.
Like,
Tell me.
at the first place, okay? So basically, right, I was in like year 2 already, and then after that, I realized that I have not been putting my farming and my like seeds to good use. I had like so many seeds, and I was like, oh my god, I actually understand the game and like that you should water your seeds before you sleep.
Oh my
and
no! Fuck,
you
oh
should
my god!
fertilize
Right,
them.
because you didn't even fucking
Like-
water the cactus. you like the cactus will take care of themselves. they're cacti. They don't need that much water, you
A
know.
lot of water. Cactuses don't need a lot of water.
But
So
it's-
I was like, that's fine. The trees, I don't need to water the trees. So why do I need to water the cactuses? Like, it was
That's
the
why you
same
fucking draw the
logic.
line.
It was a good logic, okay? Wait, so then after that, I was like, okay, and then I finally got like iridium bars, and I finally got my sprinklers. Like I finally like I was like, okay, I understand that there's like the 4 tile sprinkler and there's 8 tile sprinkler, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, everything going according to plan. So I was like, maybe I'll like farm. So then and then I wanted to like complete the community chest where there was like the farming one, the one where there's like the pumpkin, you must have like gold star. And I was like, I'm a bit impatient for this. So I'm gonna have all my crops go faster.
Oh my god! No
So
fucking
that's, like,
way.
agriculturist. Wait, but the thing is, right, the exact same day, I continued, and then from that day onwards, it was winter. So I just produced artisan goods over and over again. So yes, so that was my life for like the entire winter until my friend told me that I could pay 10G to go and talk to Krobus and change my profession, and I did it like at the end of year 2 winter.
Oh my fucking god.
Aren't you glad that I'm such a good gamer? Like, aren't you like I'm such a good gamer?
Oh
Wow,
my
I'm,
fucking
like Stardew Valley. Oh my gosh, I'm a pro, such a pro.
Oh my fucking god. Oh, you hit farming level 10 in year 2?
Yeah.
Oh
It's-
my fucking god. Oh my god.
I didn't even know there was an evaluation at the end of year 2.
Wait, what do you
Just
mean?
like my
That's
friend
like the
was
whole
with me.
thing, you know? Your grandpa visits you at the end of like year. Wait, what?
Yeah, I didn't know. So my friend was like, "Do you know that at the end of year 2, like the holy ghost of a spirit of like of like Akong just comes down and like
Yeah.
evaluates your farm, and I go, really? and then and then he comes down, then he tells me there's some evaluation, and I go, then there's like it's like, oh, 4, right? He lights up like 2 candles, and then, oh, by the way, the day, like, I just found out that because we have a cat, right? Cat or a dog.
Yeah.
So I have a cat,
I also
and
have a cat,
I have
yeah.
like ignored my cat completely. Yeah, because
Why?
like the cat's completely used. The cat's completely used. Like, what does it do? Does it give me milk?
You,
Does it
you
give
know,
me,
you know,
like, anything to smell?
literally
No.
the first thing one of the few things I do, right, is I try my best to pet the cat because it's why not?
Yeah, but it's useless. It's useless. Like,
Why you
what
pet
does
the
the
cat?
cat do for me?
But you need to pet the cat. Are you
Yeah,
going to
it's
see a
useless.
cat?
So
Are you
I,
going to
like,
see a cat and not pet it?
you see, I don't even see the cat
What the fuck? Why?
because I walk away from a completely different direction from it, and for some reason, just never see the cat until I sleep.
Oh my god.
And then my friend tells me that, oh, but did you know that if you pet the cat actually has a like a role in the evaluation? Apparently the cat contributes to the evaluation, and I was
Fucking god.
yeah. So out of 4, I got 2, which is still a pass. So yay!
Oh my fucking god.
So so yeah, okay, yeah. That's what happened today, and what I learned in Stardew Valley. Oh no, there's more actually. I learned that like inventory, there's like 3 lines because there's like 36 or something. I
Ah.
realized that you don't need to press E and then click and move it.
You can
to top.
tap
You
to
just
change
need to
the
press
role of the
tab.
inventory, yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that until like today. Like, my friend told me that, and then I was like, oh, that was interesting.
Oh wow. Neato.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was fun. Yeah.
Oh my fucking god.
Yeah.
I cannot.
I didn't even know there was a boat.
Yeah, you go to the island. It's like it's always I don't think in my hours of gameplay, right, I never explored the island much, but it's you go there for like Mr. T for Mr. T for like a lot of late game items.
It's okay. I need to work on like my actual farm first.
Yeah,
Like,
please do
this,
that.
like,
Yes.
this is like what I saw. I say it's apparently like a boat ride costs 1,000, like 1,000. I don't have that much money. I have 25 grand.
My girl, it's year 2.
Start of year 3 actually.
It's year. God, you know people make 80 million go by year 1, right?
I've been playing without the wiki. You have to remember. Okay, I've been playing without the wiki. Like
Oh my God.
I just go in and then I just stay according. I would like to say, okay, I've never played any game before. I've never played Minecraft. The only game I played was like Plant vs Zombie, like Angry Birds. Okay, that was like my extent of a game. So this is like my first like
Have you played
actual game
Farmville?
And no, I mean no, I have. Wait, I have, but I've never gone past like a few levels. I remember because I get so impatient, and then I'm like, and I just move on to another game.
Oh
So,
my fucking god.
Okay, so like when I first started the game, my friend
Uh-huh.
had to literally like tell me what all the controls are, and then like I kept watering like in front of people, and I would eat stuff and everything, and so she just brought me through like one day, a few days, and I was like, okay, so then I ventured off to my own, like I'm independent, I've flown out of the nest, like I can fly myself now. Yeah, I proceeded to like plant all my like seeds and everything, and I didn't know, but I would pickaxe them, and then I'll wake up the next day, I'll come over and I'll go, where did my plants go? And then yeah, so that was also contributing
I
to
will
some
pay to
of
watch you in your first few days of Stardew,
oh, I have a
Um,
whole list of things that happened.
That would make like extremely
Like-
great content. Like if you just film yourself playing Stardew.
Like have you seen the what I did in my first few days of Stardew?
What the fuck do you do?
Do you know the whole thing? Okay, so I typed out the whole thing, by the way. Okay, so right, part 1, right? Okay, this is before I had like a mini hiatus, but this is part 1. This is like the very very fresh. Okay, first day I lost my ex. Like
What do you mean lost?
I
You
just
dropped
lost
it?
Like no. Like I put it somewhere
You
and
put
then
it in
I
a chest
just
and then you
forgot.
forgot
And I
about
just
it,
didn't know where. Yeah, apparently it was in the mines, and then so I was like, oh okay. So I
It was in the
walked
mines?
over, and then
Wait, how the fuck do you wait,
Yeah,
where
it's-
do you fuck do you put things in the mines?
like it was like in the chest in the mine. Like I put a chest there and I put it there, and I was like,
Oh
oh,
my
and I walked away and I forgot about it.
God. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, anyways, that was like the least of my like things, okay? Because the ex, I found it, right? The second thing that I did, right, was that I accidentally bought another bamboo rod. So I went fishing and I was like, hey, you know what? I need a better fishing rod. And then I saw the bamboo rod and I was like, I don't have a bamboo rod. Turns out I did. So I have two fishing. So I had two bamboo rods.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, and then guess what happened? I lost the fishing rods afterwards. Yeah, I lost both of them, I think. And I bought them again later.
Oh
Okay.
my fucking god.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
So that
god.
was fun. I opened. By the way, I was trying to like seduce Alex in my like the first half because I thought it was like, dumb joke. Like yeah, okay, cute. Like
But like,
he's
okay.
becoming a dumb
Personal
boy.
opinion. I think Alex hard events suck.
Alex, what?
Alex's hard events and his whole shtick sucks. I don't know. Personally, I think he's not the best bachelor. But continue.
It's okay. I think he's not the best bachelor right now too. Like he's kind of like too dumb right now. Like he just goes like, yeah, and, like that. That's like he just says hi to me. I'm just like,
Oh my gosh.
I want a better
He
conversation.
says. The guy says
Yeah.
hi. It's like, oh my god.
Like that's like, oh my gosh. I also and the worst thing is that every time I've tried to seduce him, I've opened the trash in front of him. I have tried to give him a gift to rectify the situation, and I gave him the only fruit he hates.
Oh my god. Is this?
So
It's like you trying to date in real life, I guess.
So true, so
So
true.
like, oh
so
my
true.
god.
Yeah. Yeah, so there were more things that I did. In the first year, I did buy like fruit tree seeds, and apparently they cost a lot.
Yeah,
Like,
they
cost
cost
like a few thousand each, right?
Yeah, but if you saw them in the greenhouse, they last forever.
So this was like the first year, right? So I didn't have the greenhouse. So so I have the beach, like the beach,
You
the beach thing. So
What beach
in front of
thing?
the house,
You mean
like
the
a bit of
literal
space.
like beach on the island, and you planted them there?
Like no. Like the I don't know what's it called. Like it's like the water. Like there's like different maps, right? I mean the water map, like the one where there's like a space directly right in front of like the house, and then
Oh! It's
in front of
it's
the
kind of
living
like
space
the
there's like
default
water.
lah. It's more of the default.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I don't know. Okay, but anyways,
I forgot.
so
I don't
I
follow farm
planted
names, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Okay, I planted the trees in a row, like one by one, in front of my house, and then I forgot that those were the trees.
And you chopped them down
And so
later.
I thought I lost the seeds, and then when I came back, and then they all grew, right? Guess what? They were blocking everything because the trees were right there.
Wait,
I
you went to the
couldn't-
one by the house or by the one at the bottom of the map?
Okay, how about this? How about you go to my
Or your Stardew group? Ah?
Yes. Okay. Wait. Let me find if I have a picture of my trees. Oh, oh my god! I've never taken a screenshot of my trees. Oh my gosh! Wait, what if I just screen share?
You can. It won't show on the stream, but you can screen share with like to me.
Okay, I'll screen share with you.
Oh my
Screen share with you. You
God.
can. How do I screen share?
In our call, right, there's a button in the middle called share your screen.
I'm not that dumb. Wait. No, that's me. I know that. Wait, I'm saying like it's hearing like the window. Oh no! Wait. Okay, got it.
You know, I cannot be too like
You see
sure.
it?
Yeah, I do see it.
Okay. Wait. Can I go load? Okay. Wait. Let's click. Okay. Sorry.
Oh my god, there's 3 iterations. God damn.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know if I am. I'm kind of scared. I'm venturing into the psyche of like you.
It's not loading. It's loading. Okay, are you ready? Okay,
Uh,
we're walking. Oh, I found out you can wear like the pen as a hat. So
yeah,
I'm wearing it.
but don't you have like other hats?
Anyways, do you see my trees here?
Uh huh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Uh huh.
So these are the fruit trees, and then I had before I rearranged everything. Okay, I had crops that were growing here.
And they're blocking
I
you from
couldn't
like
see
seeing
them.
them.
And yeah, so they're blocking me from seeing them. Okay, so now after I've had these 5 trees that were growing here, right? I finally opened the greenhouse. Okay. And I don't know if you've seen my.
I have seen the
my-
screenshot of your greenhouse, yes.
Yeah, but not bad. Oh my god, my strawberries are done. Oh, my inventory is full.
Yeah, you just opened your inventory.
Yeah.
Why is your inventory so fucking cluttered? Why is this?
Oh, you want to see my chest? Oh, I have like one of everything.
Yeah,
So yay!
I mean me too, but why is your inventory, like the actual inventory you have, so crowded? Okay, wait, I have a question. Do you went fruit bat cave or mushroom cave? Because I made the mistake also.
I went to Skull Cavern.
No, but when it came for your cave in your farm, do you choose fruit bat cave or mushroom cave?
Ah, okay. So I have fruit trees here, right?
And then you
And
were
I
like,
fruit
you
trees in
don't
the
need fruit
greenhouse,
trees.
Well, I hope there's something inside.
Oh wait, this is the water map. Okay, but you picked.
Yes,
fruit-
the water, it's the water.
Oh my god, why do you pick the river map? The river map is like stupid. I hate the river map.
Yeah, see, I have no idea. Did my friend my friends first started like me with this game? She just brought me with the river map, so like the water map. So I just like took it as it is. So this is the only map that I know, and I've only played this map.
Bro.
So I will play the other map eventually, and then I probably go through the entire process again, and then we will see how.
Bro, just
we
play the
see
standard map. Please just play the
whatever
standard map. The
things
standard map is way easier. Like your farm standard
But that's
map.
okay. We have committed. We are 3 years in. We are 3 years in. We have committed.
Oh my god, this
Okay,
is
we are too far.
it's spring. Yeah, spring day 4,
We're
right?
too far.
Holy shit.
I have 29 daughters.
You know what? It's fine. It's fine. Do you have the you have 29 touches, but do you have the ring
You
of
know, I want.
Luminos? Yeah. You're kind of glitching out, by the way, because I think your computer is struggling with this.
Yeah, it's struggling so badly. I do have the ring of yoga.
No, the ring of Luminos. Yeah. Oh my god. Sure, but like, I cannot believe. I actually cannot believe. You know. You know what this means? You know what this means?
Yeah.
We should play more. We should play games more often so that it makes good content.
No, it's okay.
It
I
makes
play
great
like
content.
occasionally here and there, and it's like one day. Yeah, what I can do is I can play for a while, and then you can do a monthly review, or like a 3-month check-in, and see what I've been doing.
Not gonna lie, that friend will probably do my job way better if you say that she's an actual hardcore min maxer. Cause like,
Very much.
does she do step counting?
Like, what does that mean?
So that means that RNG in this game is dependent on your footsteps.
On my footsteps?
Yeah, so basically, whether it's going to rain tomorrow or it's going to have good luck tomorrow, it's actually dependent on how many steps you've taken. Cause the game's creator, Concerned Ape, coded it in such a way whereby some things are not really random, like they're determined by some arbitrary things, and the step count is one of them.
What? I've been taking so many steps.
No, but it's a bit arbitrary. But if you can do step counting, right, you can manipulate the RNG for tomorrow, and it maybe can help you like rain, so that you don't need to water your crops tomorrow. That's how like min maxers actually do
Only
things.
it's okay. I have iridium bars.
Yeah, but
Like,
I'm talking about like
Iridium's pretty
maybe
loud.
year 1, like day 3 or something.
Oh no, it's okay. That's fine. If I do replay the game, I'll probably play it the same way. Like slightly different with like new knowledge, but like probably the same way. And but she's not that extent of a min maxer. She's more of like a empire. Like she'll build like a truffle empire. She built like a chili empire to try and like seduce like, was it Sam? I don't know
Wait, she
who-
builds a
whoever.
chili empire to seduce Sam. Who is he? Like she gonna make Laukan Ma for Sam or something?
I have no idea. Oh wait, is it Shane?
She seduces Shane. Why does she seduce Shane?
Is Shane the chicken one?
Yeah, he's a deadbeat.
Yeah. She likes Shane. She
She
likes
likes
Shane. I cannot
Shane?
understand it.
Why does she
Yeah,
like
she likes the
Shane?
chicken. She thinks he's very cute. It's like the chicken. Like I cannot understand
Oh
it.
my, okay.
Yeah.
The hot take. I think she likes him for his chickens.
Yeah, probably. Most likely
Because
actually.
I
Very,
because
very
I
most likely.
the his like what 14 like some hard event is him giving you blue chickens.
Yeah. She wants the blue chicken. She likes the blue chicken.
Blue chickens.
Yay! Stadio! Woo! Okay, thank you. It's been fun. It's 12 o'clock. It's time to sleep.
No, I need to continue studying CS, but yes.
But yeah, nice catch up with you and watch the entirety of Hilda. Oh my
Yeah, I know. I'll do
gosh.
it tomorrow.
Also, by the
Jeez,
way,
chill. I like
if you
when-
want like a really good show to like watch and like have lots of things to talk about, you should watch Selling the OC.
again
It's like one of the best like
selling
Selling the
the
OC. It's one of
selling
the
the
best like
OC.
yeah, it's one of the best like trashy like trashy reality TV shows. Like 15 minutes in, and I was texting my friend rapidly. I was like, "Holy shit! You're not believing what I'm seeing. I cannot believe what I like." Okay, most reality shows, like they're reality, you know, they're human. Like all the drama, you can understand how it's concocted. You can understand why they choose some actions. But for like Selling the OC, my gosh, like I actually cannot believe that these are actual human beings. Like I was like, wow, there are people who really think this way.
Huh. Selling the OC TV
Yes,
series.
yes.
Mm.
The drama is like it's like, oh my gosh, it's like 15 minutes in, right? Someone just goes, I hate her, and then everyone goes like, why? And you're like, she's just the worst. And then you're like, why is she the worst? It's just the vibes. 15 minutes in, and that's the entire like the whole setting of the show already. It just goes, she's the worst. Why? Just bad vibes. Yeah, oh my god, I hate her.
Oh my god.
And then they confront her, they say like, oh, I heard like you told everyone that you hate me, and like people were saying that you were very like aggressive and you thought very strongly about that.
Uh-huh.
And then the first response was, who told you? I love it.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to like get to that level of like show enjoyment.
I feel like mentally it takes such a toll, but like if you have friends to talk about it with, it's so fun.
You need
Like
to like
genuinely,
you
I
need to
feel
like
like
organize like
every
a Sunday where we all like get wine drunk and we watch the show or something.
sorry, but I don't drink.
Okay, fine. We'll get like Sugar Rush and we watch the show.
Fair. I can get a taping.
You get tip, you can like put the tipping in like a wine glass and you swirl it and it's like, oh my god.
Wow, like I can't believe what they just said. So real.
Like, she failed the vibe check. Oh my god.
But yes. Okay, it's been fun catching up with
Yeah,
you.
it's been fun.
Okay, enjoy
Yes.
enjoy your homework.
Thank you. Okay, enjoy
Cool.
your time in
Bye.
study. Goodbye. Thank you for the entertainment.
Bye.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, this is a little tangent, but we're back on track. Oh boy. Oh. Oh my god. Oh my god. I need like a little break from that. No, I need a break. As in, I literally need a break from not talking. I'm like, oh my god. like, I just need a break of like, to process what the fuck just happened. You know, I'm not like I don't need a break to talk. I just need a break. I'm not gonna start my CS immediately. Are you still watching it? Are you still watching my stream? I still. I used to watching the stream. Bro. There's there'll be quite a bit of lag. There's like about 5 seconds of lag, but oh my god. Yeah, so it's not like I need a break from you. I just need a break from like not doing a lot of things. I let my brain like calm down a bit. My cheeks are so sore. Oh my god. Actually, why do you have a Harry Potter? Oh, it's my CS
Session.
lecture.
And so when
Yeah.
I
Is
reload
this
this
the
part
lecture?
again and again, the reason I'm only
So what it's doing right is that they're explaining to me Amazon and how their cart works and what are sessions. It's just the lecture. So it's just this is a shopping cart, and currently this shopping cart has Harry Potter, Sorcerer's Stone, and Deathly Hallows inside. You know, if you make a Twitch account, right? You not only can you chat, you can follow me to know when I stream next. And if you have a Steam account, if you have a Twitch account, right? You know you can just stream on Twitch. Like, it becomes an option. You need a streamer. You need a Twitch account to stream on Twitch. Okay, I won't tell like the stream what you just said, but you just need to be technologically empowered, you know. Bro, you're gonna think about this like the next, like there'll always be another day. You're not gonna start the stream. You need to do what you just did just now. Hop on a call or just hop on and just start doing something. You can be technologically empowered. Just be technologically empowered. Buy a new laptop. Like beg your parents. Hey, I want to start a YouTube account. Can I get a laptop that has a dedicated graphic card, please? Thank. What do you mean it's only a laptop? When do you buy the laptop? Okay, on the back on your laptop, is there a sticker that says Nvidia? Or like it's a gaming laptop. Why is it struggling so hard? Before I go absolutely feral, no, that's not a gaming laptop. The VivoBook can have gaming specs, but the VivoBook is not a gaming laptop. I'm sorry to say. Wait, which one? Asus AI noise. So that means it doesn't have a graphics card lah. Your VivoBook. Okay, let me guess the price range. It's about 1.3K, 1.4K. If not cheaper. Oh, it's the i7 model. 1.5? It's the 14-inch, right? Yeah, see, this is you not being technologically empowered. Why do you have a 16-inch? The 16-inch is kind of big. Isn't it kind of big? Bro, you wear contacts. That's what she said. You have glasses. You have glasses, wear them. Wait, you have a 16-inch? Isn't that kind of pricey? A 16-inch i7 is kind of pricey. Wait, do you buy this with your own money? You can't remember if you spend your own money? Fuck. What the fuck? What do you? Oh my god! What do you mean you can't remember if you spend your own money? You know. I've been like a huge You know, I've been telling you to log your spending for the longest time, right? Ever since like, you know, I'm telling you, you know, you should probably have a spreadsheet or some way to track your finances. Just like your fishing rod and your shovel. Just like a fishing rod and your shovel, you don't know where it went. You know, you gotta take those shots. Okay, I'm probably looking at the one you have. Is the Asus VivoBook 16, the X1605. It does not have dedicated graphics card. It's currently using integrated graphics. Yeah, it's currently using integrated graphics, so it's gonna struggle a bit. It can have a HDMI port and still a dedicated graphics card. The USB port does nothing. The USB port is just there because it's very useful to have a HDMI port because you can present. Is your USB-C is also likely Thunderbolt 3? Let me check. Very heavy, bro. You know my, you know. Wow, bro. Let me tell you now. Your laptop is not 3.5 kg, okay? You know how heavy 3.5 kg is for a laptop or not? You think you what lifting weights, ah? You know my laptop is 2.4 kg and it's heavy already. My laptop is so heavy because it has like a copper cooling system. Bro, your laptop is 1.8 kg. Your laptop is weighs less than mine. It's 1.8 kg, like 1.8 kg specifically. Then 200 grams is like one chicken breast. Sure. Are you able to eat that chicken breast? I don't think so. So it's gonna stay on there, huh? Bro. Oh my god. You got the i7. You got the i7, but it's 8GB DDR4 RAM. You got 1TB. You got 1TB of 512GB storage. If you even know what that means. Do you even know what that means? Wait. You think 8GB of RAM is a lot of RAM? Do you genuinely think that 8GB of RAM is a lot of RAM? One tuberculosis. The doctor in you is speaking right now. Yeah, okay, wait. But your RAM is upgradable, by the way. Your RAM should be upgradable. Like, there should be an extra RAM slot for you to upgrade. But I don't know how upgradable Asus is. You just looked around. What the fuck? Haha. What do you mean? Is there a port or something? No, you need to open up your laptop and then you insert the RAM. You could like insert a RAM into. You could insert a RAM stick inside your USB port. Oh my fucking god! This is my man's gonna fucking. No, you know how fast your RAM needs to operate or not? Your RAM is operating at like how many gigabit transfer speed? You know, if you want, right? I do not usually do laptop repair because I'm not open up. I do not usually open up laptops because I hate opening up laptops. Most of them are proprietary. But if you like, holy shit. Oh my god. Okay. Man, it's really time for you, right, to start taking more consideration in technology. Cause it's very helpful to know what technology you're buying. Can play Stardew Valley, but can you play Stardew Valley well? Apparently you can't as well either, so it currently balances out, I guess. Oh my gosh. This is, yeah, you know what is the analogy is like you're giving imagine you having my computer, like the machine I built. It's a $5,000 computer that I built myself. Imagine I just give that to you and then what are you gonna do with it? What if I tell you this $5,000 computer, right, can buff your studio? You know, you could watch Netflix in 4K. This PC would be 4K capable. That's too much K. You are not okay, so that's too much K for you. I will not say what you just said, but mood. But then if you think about it, right, I also have this machine to watch like 360p. I also watch like Hilda at 360p because I don't watch via Netflix. I watch on like very legitimate sites. That's a waste of my resources. I spend my resources how I want. But I don't just like you think your current PC will be capable of streaming right now. A genuine opinion. Wait, I'm just gonna send a sticker. Hold up. Where is that sticker? Is it? No. Bro, I have too many stickers on Telegram. Holy shit. There we go. Hit a statement and apply to my Stardew. All you motherfuckers judging my Stardew. So what if I have like 70 coffee beans? You do know you should be converting those coffee beans into like espressos, right? No, I will not do my CS homework. You need to be educated. No, please. Okay, please combine your coffee into espressos or make more espressos. Please stop making more coffee beans. You don't need that many coffee beans. Coffee beans are only good for coffee, and you can just buy coffee. You should be devoting your resources to other things. You know what's comparative advantage? I know you're a doctor lah, but do you at least take a course on economics? Okay. You know that what you should be doing is devoting all your resources as a farmer into high value like items so that you can sell those things for a higher value, then purchase other things that other people have made. You know, you don't need to make everything yourself. You have a coffee maker, 40 coffees on a coffee maker that you do not drink. Janelle has given me the lecture. Thank you. I don't know if it sticks, but I hope it sticks. You know the tongue lashing that she's been giving you? Yeah, like the lectures, like basic economics and like farming and making good decisions. and there's no consequence, I beg to differ. There seems to be a whole host of consequences that are in fact impacting how you're going to play the game. Yes, yes, have fun. Goodbye. Have a great time. Yes, another lecture. I hope you guys. It's okay. I'm not here to get views. I'm not here to get a lot of views. I'm here for a good time. Usually, on average, I get about three to four views per the entire stream. On average, 3 to 4, which not gonna lie, I'm quite happy with. Like imagine somebody tuning in live to just like watch you. Can you say hi? I can type in chat. Lamar. No, I can say hi. Like I can send a message. Like I can say hi. I don't know about the other viewers. Like, and plus the other viewers cannot see you because I'm not showing the fucking telechat. I'm not gonna expose the fucking I know what to show. Yeah. And plus it's on average. People come, people go. So I don't know how many people are watching my stream at this current moment. I don't check. But my analytics tell me like on average 3 to 4. If you want to. You're putting a lot of hope in me that I have female viewers. I'm gonna say this, and I quote, "I'll have male content." Said by my friend. I have male content. I'm gonna type it in chat. You have male content. No. Oh, you know this thing now, right? Twitch. Twitch actually allows nudity for a very brief moment last week. Twitch allowed nudity on their streams for a very, very brief moment. Yeah, I know, right? And then they realized that it was one of the most dumbest decisions they ever made, and then they backtracked. So for a brief period of time, you could have streamed completely naked, and it would have been fine. Right now, I'm pretty sure it's outlawed. But I try to keep it PG, you know. I try my best not to like swear as much, but the occasional swear like does come out. Like, you know, it's something that you can if you want to like watch with your kids. Like if your kid wants to like learn the magic of like CS. Okay, I'll disseminate that information. I'm just gonna. I'm just gonna casually, you know. Wait, you can see what I'm posting in chat, right? My friend is currently giving out like STD and like sexual health pro tips. If there's an answer, it's gonna be a check, could be syphilis. You should start like a health like chat thing where you can like doctor explain me all the health information. I can like I can make you like a PNG thing that we can show on stream. Then I can have you on stream so that you can chat. And then we can have like a small mini podcast. If you like. No, it's not preachy. Wait, you know this one doctor that does it? I'm gonna join back the call and we're gonna okay. Would you like that? I can, cause we can give it a shot. Would you like that? I'm gonna leave it up to you if you want to do that. But I just leaving that open as an available option, and for you to see if you're gonna like this streaming thing. I can host it on my channel, and then like we can record a VOD or like a stream for it. No, don't worry. I will ask my friends what they want a PNG to be. You know, okay, I played games with my other friend. I made a PNG for him, right? That's literally a talking pumpkin. Let me show you. I've literally made a PNG for him that's a talking pumpkin. Wait. I literally made a talking pumpkin for him because like that's what he wants. So I made a talking pumpkin, and I do this myself. You know, I do it myself. I feel so proud. Yeah. So if you would like to, you know, yeah, my chat engagement is usually that high. Nah, usually not that high. Usually only like 1 to 2 people do come in and chat. Because you don't have a fucking Twitch account, create a Twitch account, you know? All this can be solved if you have a Twitch account. Like just now, earlier in the stream, like one guy from KL was speaking to me, and that was quite fun. You know what? I think Elon Musk did you a favor there and not allow you to go on Twitter. I don't think you want to be on Twitter at this current moment. Did you actually try to make a Twitter account with the express interest to tweet at Elon? Did you actually try this? Was that your intent? Wait, Clarkson from Clarkson's farm to what? Endorse your Stardew Valley farm? No fucking way. Wait, you wanted Jeremy Clarkson to send you his book? Yeah, you're gonna like tweet at Jeremy Clarkson to send you his book. It's like you're gonna be like right there. All right, Jeremy. Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna send me a single potato. You're gonna get like a single potato from him. Requesting one thing from. I was gonna like bargain. What are you gonna bargain? What do you have to offer to Jeremy Clarkson? No, it's not bargaining. You have nothing to. You have what are you going to offer Jeremy Clarkson? What is it that you're going to offer Jeremy Clarkson that gives you some bargaining power? Him being I don't know if he would want that. Something tells me he wouldn't want that. You know, even without knowing the outcome of that event happening, I don't think he would want that. He would want peace and quiet. You are right. And you know what's worse? Dude, it's not going to be Jeremy Clarkson that's handling his private account. It's probably going to be some like intern that will handle his social media account. Okay, Sauce, trust me, bro. Sure. You're gonna teach him how to play mahjong. He's gonna be like, it's like, what's this green thing? It's like, what's this? What's this Chinese character? It's like, it's not a car. Fucking hell. It's like, I lost $1,000. Oh no, there must be a mistake. It was like, all right, I'll have this 2006 Chevy. I'm gonna bet this round of mahjong. He runs like Top Gear, so he's gonna like, I don't know, like trade some vintage car. Yeah, like if you can win a Lambo, I'll win his Porsche, sure. He has a Lamborghini tractor. My wife, does my man have a Lamborghini tractor? Oh, fuck. Oh my god, this is so funny. Oh my god. Oh my god. 75 BPH. Oh my god, I can't even go 100 in that. No way. Did he just take an engine out of a Lamborghini and stuck it onto a tractor? Oh my god. Why am I watching Jeremy Clarkson like on a farm? Yeah, I know, I watched Top Gear. It's like Stardew Valley but IRL. Yes. You watch like Jeremy Clarkson like on a farm, like this kid who doesn't know a lick of farming, like trying to run a farm, and then he's like, oh my god, he's just like me, for real. Oh my god, that's so me. I'm like a man in my 60s reaching my twilight years, and I'm so rich and famous. I'm on a farm just somewhere making a reality TV show. It's so me. Oh my god. I'm questioning my purpose in life, so I bought our entire 100-acre plot of land, and I shall live it like they did in the olden days. Is that what you're gonna do? Like you're gonna Like, you gotta go to like Indonesia and I buy a plot of land and just start your own farm. By the time you reach like 40, where you realize this doctor shtick isn't really gonna like work out. If it doesn't work out, he's gonna move to like some other country and start a farm. My friend would agree. My friend would agree that potato good. Potato is a very simple thing and it does make people happy. Dude, you can make so many things with it. Mashed, boiled, steamed, French fries, hash browns. Dude, you can make so many things with potatoes. It can be a carb, can be a carb, can be a protein, can be a fat. It can be everything. It's all the macronutrients. Like it can be any macronutrient. Lmao, bye. Have a great time. I'm also going to slightly break, go to the toilet and brush my teeth, then come back, finish up the CS lecture. Have a good time though. Bye. Okay, back. Okay. Okay, it's time to finish the last like 10 minutes of this lecture.
My two is because we're checking only the list in my session. And Flasks make sure, again, that my session is different from your session, is different from Carter's session as well. But you write the
Oh,
code
boy.
once, and it works for thousands, millions of people in parallel. Any questions on this? Yes, in the back. Sorry, say a little louder. So to recap, users will never have the same session values. Theoretically, the cookie that gets planted does not look like a smiley face for everyone. Each of us gets a big random number that's assigned to us. So it'd be like each of us gets a completely unique hand stamp that no one else can see. The reason no one else can see it is because if the website's using HTTPS, every time this hand stamp is shown, every time this cookie is sent back and forth, it's all encrypted as well. So each of us can, even if we have the same contents by coincidence, because we like the same books, they will be separate cookies, separate memory, separate sessions. Behind you, yeah. Really good question. When does the session end? Totally configurable. Typically, it ends when you close the tab or when you quit the browser, or you can also configure cookies to themselves be persistent for a day, for a week, for longer. So for instance, when you log into, say, Gmail, they plant a cookie on your computer probably for a week, a month, a year, something like that, because it would be annoying and probably drive you to like Outlook or something else if you kept having to log into your account, whereas your bank account might actually wait for you to just close the tab, and then for your own financial safety, they just automatically delete the session far sooner, but totally configurable. By default, as I'm using it, it will typically be thrown away when the browser itself quits. And here, too, is another reason to develop websites using incognito mode, because if you want to just throw away all of your cookies, you close the incognito window mode, open a new one, and now you're starting from scratch. You don't have to manually delete all your cookies, which could log you out of websites you actually care about. Yeah? A good question. When using sessions, if someone maliciously changes the value of subforms, could it affect other people? Theoretically, no, because the worst you can do is like add books to your own shopping cart that you don't want there. So at that point, even though it's on the server, it doesn't affect you or Carter or anyone else, unless there is something more globally happening, like registering or deregistering for a sport, or removing books from the Amazon database. That would be
Sessions
problematic.
might
But in this case, we're removing things only from my own session that the
malicious.
website is giving me.
If-
All right, the last topic for today is this thing here, which is sort of everywhere nowadays, these things called APIs, or Application Programming Interfaces. And this is a very generic
Oh, okay. APIs are actually quite important. Oh, I'm still like reeling from the fucking laughing. Holy shit. Oh,
generic term, in fact, because any function you've used in C, in Scratch, in Python, in SQL are all APIs. Like there is a standard way of interface.
I'm pretty sure it's called application programming interface.
With those functions. They all have names, they sometimes have return values, they sometimes have arguments, and an API is just how you use a function. Or, more generally, an API just specifies how you interact with some service. And so nowadays, there's a lot of web-based services that you can use to get back data, like the weather, or the current time, or the database of Amazon books, for instance. All might have APIs, often web-based, that allow you, using URLs or some other technology, to just get data from someone else, as though it's a function you're calling remotely. But HTTP is very often the mechanism that's used to actually get data from servers. And the way the data can come back can be as follows. Let me end with one final example using some of our familiar shows from weeks past. Let me go ahead and close the old Flask version, go back into source 9, and go into how about an example called shows. And the first version of this 0, I'm just going to go ahead and run.
Oh
Flask
my God,
run.
I'm still
I'll
fucking
hover over my
reeling
URL
from
and open it here,
laughing.
and you'll see now that I have a very simple form, as we keep doing today. I'm going to type in like OFFICE
Okay.
office into this search box and click search. And you'll see now that I ended up at a URL ending in /search, Q equals office. So this is like my own baby version of google.com, but I implemented it myself. And for any title of a TV show from a couple of weeks past that matches OFFICE, I spit it out into an unordered list. How is this working? You can maybe imagine, even if you might not be able to program this off the top of your head certainly so soon, let me go into source 9, let me go into show 0, let me open up app.py. And in this file, you'll see that I'm grabbing a file called shows.db, which is like a simpler version of the one from a couple of weeks past. Here is why I see the web form. My first route, my index is super simple. It just spits out that form. And my search route, like you can think of this as google.com, is only like 4 lines of code. So if the user sends data to /search, this function called search is called. I declare a variable called shows. I execute a SQL command that is select star from shows where title like question mark. And the syntax here is a little crazy, but I want to prefix to the user's input %, and suffix it with a %.
Huh. Okay. So %. Okay.
Sign as well. putting in the between those two values the actual input, y. In SQL, what does it mean if you have a % sign to the left and to the right? Nothing to do with Jinja today. Yeah, it's a wild card, so it means match 0 or more characters on the left, or
Oh my god, this is a SQL command. This fucking SQL command.
match 0 or more characters on the right, you have to do the concatenation as the second argument to this function. You can't do something clever like put it here around the question mark. Like the question mark is the placeholder that you plug these values into. But this just means, hey, SQL, show me all of the titles that have OFFICE somewhere in them. That gives me back a list of dictionaries. I pass that in as a placeholder for a variable called shows. And if we look at search.html, let's look at that. In my templates directory, there's something called search.html. Super simple. I mean, this is like the essence of google.com search results. I'm using an unordered list to keep things simple, but I iterate over every show in the shows list that came back, and I output an LI with each of those shows' titles. And that's it. Now, Google has like blue links and like little previews and other text, the first sentence or so from each page, but like that's the idea. Like this is really similar in spirit to what google.com/search does for you. Now, how is this working? There's no API involved here yet. This is just very basic HTTP. I submit the form, I go to another route, and I get back the results. But check out this version. Let me close these tabs here and open my first terminal window. Let me go into shows 1 from today's source9 directory and do Flask run this time. Let me go ahead and hover over that URL and open it here. And gone now is the submit button. Now I'm going to make a user interface that uses a technique called AJAX, for asynchronous JavaScript and XML, which is somewhat
Ajax sounds like a character from Mortal Kombat.
of a dated term because we're not using something called XML anymore, but AJAX is a technique whereby you don't have to submit forms anymore to get more data from the server. You can use JavaScript, per last week, listen for an event like the key press, going down or up, and as soon as you hear such an event, you can secretly, in JavaScript code, send a request to the server to get back more data, and then plug it into the DOM, the tree in the computer's memory. And this just makes for a more seamless experience. It's like autocomplete on any website. So now let me try typing O. OK, we got autocomplete super fast. ICE, and you'll see every time I add more keys to my input, I'm doing another search, and the data is changing. Now, how is this working? Well, let me go back to VS Code here, and in my other terminal window, let me open up app.py. And in app.py, you'll see that there's still a search route down below that returns a search template. But watch this. Let me go into
Oh, okay. Okay, be back.
templates/search.html, and notice here that we're indeed getting back an unordered list of shows again and again and again. And this HTML that's coming back, let me go here. Let me open my terminal. Oh, sorry, this is the wrong version. Sorry, I was in the wrong folder. Let's fix this. In shows 1, code of app.py, it's almost the same thing. In search here, OK, well, I changed this slightly. Let me show you this version of search. If I open up app.py, here's my search route. I'm getting a variable called q, giving it the value of whatever request.args has from the user, like q equals office. And then I'm checking. If the user actually types something in, execute this SQL query. Select star from shows where title is like that, using the same. And this time, just to keep things efficient, I limited the total results to 50 instead of an infinite number. Otherwise, if the user typed nothing, just to be super safe here, I'm setting shows equal to an empty list. So if you don't type anything, there's nothing to show. And no matter what, I render this template called search.html. Well, let's look at that. If I open up templates/search.html, this time, there's no layout. There's no inheritance of that layout.html. I'm literally generating just a whole bunch of li fragments. Why? Well, let's see what's happening in the browser. And this is the beginning of an API. If I wanted to make this API available, this application programming interface, I could tell the world that if you want to search for TV shows in my database, go to URL that's something/search q equals office or cat or dog or
Oh,
anything
this
else.
is
And what
Google.
I will
It's
return to you
literally
is this.
Google.
Enter, I will just give you a whole bunch of li tags, which almost
Oh,
looks the
shit.
same, but let me view the page source. Only am I going to hand you back a fragment of HTML. I'm not giving you an HTML tag, a body tag, a title tag, a head tag. I'm not
Okay,
giving you
so like code design affects the efficacy of the API.
web page. I'm giving you a fragment of HTML.
Okay.
That you can now do whatever you want, including insert this into your own unordered list. So notice what happens in this actual app. If I go back to VS Code here, let me open up my index template here, and you'll see some JavaScript magic. So in JavaScript here, in my form that only had the text box and no button, what am I doing? In a script tag here, I am creating a variable called input. And I'm using this function called query selector that just gets me a reference to the input text box on the form. So I can see what the human typed. This is a little different today, but I'm using input.atEventListener, which is a way in JavaScript to tell it, just like in Scratch, listen for something to happen, like the green flag being clicked. But in this case, listen for an event that involves input. That is like typing on the keyboard, whether it's by a copy-paste, manual input, or anything else. Then, whenever that happens, call this function. And async stands for asynchronous. This is a term of art, which means that this function might take like a split second, maybe even a second or two to execute. So it's going to do it behind the scenes, like in the background, so to speak. And what is it going to do? Well, it's going to call a JavaScript function that all browsers now support called fetch, which is a function that uses HTTP to go fetch more data from the server. It's going to fetch data from a route called /search, q equals, and whatever the value is that the user typed in. So I'm just sort of manually creating my own mini URL and telling JavaScript, go fetch me that HTML. When it comes back, via this line of text here called response.text. And let me wave my hand at await. Await just means this might not come back immediately. Let's await the response. And when it does come in, then let's execute this code. I'm going to do this. I'm going to search the document, the whole web page, for this UL tag, which is somewhere in this page that we'll see in a moment, change its inner HTML to be that fragment of li of all of those matching. We'll just give you a whole bunch of li tags, which almost looks like put text box on the form. So I can see what the human typed. This is a little different today, but I'm using input.atEventListener, which is a way in JavaScript to tell it, just like in Scratch, listen for something to happen, like the green flag being clicked. But in this case, listen for an event that involves input. That is like typing on the keyboard, whether it's by a copy-paste, manual input, or anything else. Then, whenever that happens, call this function. And async stands for asynchronous. This is a term of art, which means that this function might take like a split second, maybe even a second or two to execute. So it's going to do it behind the scenes, like in the background, so to speak. And what is it going to do? Well, it's going to call a JavaScript function that all browsers now support called fetch, which is a function that uses HTTP to go fetch more data from the server. It's going to fetch data from a route called /search.
Wait, this is use HTTP to get more data. Okay.
Search, q equals, and whatever the value is that the user typed in. So I'm just sort of manually creating my own mini URL and telling JavaScript, go fetch me that HTML. When it comes
Search function plus whatever user typed / input.
back via this line of text here called response.text. And let me wave my hand at await. Await just means this might not come back immediately. Let's await the response.
So await here means wait for input.
And when it does come in, then let's execute this code. I'm going to do this. I'm going to search the document, the whole web page, for this UL tag, which is somewhere in this page that we'll see in a moment, change its inner HTML to be that fragment of li.
So then within this document, within this doc, find unordered lists. Then inside put shows. Okay.
Yep.
li of all of those matching shows. And where does this all go? Well, if we scroll up here, you'll notice that there's my usual HTML up at the top, head tag, body tag, and all of that. There's the text box that we've talked about already. There's no button for submitting because it all happens automatically. But there is, by default, this empty UL that has nothing by default until we start using that API. And the final flourish here is this. This is kind of a ugly, sloppy way to get data from a server to just get back like a fragment of HTML. Like, what if I'm not using HTML? I want to store these TV shows in a PDF or in some other wet tag, in a table or something like that. It doesn't really make sense for the server to be presuming that I want LI tags surrounding each of my data. Better would be to get a more generic format back, and that format is almost always nowadays called this, our final acronym, JSON, JavaScript Object Notation.
Okay. I think this is going to also be quite important. Jace as
And let me do this. Let me close these two tabs here and open my terminal window and cancel the previous version of Flask that was running. Let me close this version and look at our final version called shows2 and do Flask run. I'm going to hover over that URL and open it in a browser. And I'm going to manually visit, after zooming in, let's do again /search q equals office, enter. And this is what JSON looks like. Now, at a glance, this does not seem like an improvement. Like, this looks crazy that it's just this big blob of text. But it's just enough text for the computer to be able to process it reliably. Notice that there's a square bracket here. And if I actually scroll to the bottom, there'd be a closed square bracket like way down there. Inside of that square bracket is a curly brace, then ID, colon, and then a number. Then a title, quote unquote, colon, and then the title, and then the closed curly brace. So what you're seeing in JavaScript object notation is a very standard, super popular format that's just text, that still uses square brackets for lists, aka arrays, that still uses curly braces for dictionaries, key value pairs. So what you see here is a massive list, up to 50, I think, shows that came back from this API, each of which has a dictionary, if you will, an object of key value pairs. What keys and values? An ID key and a title key, each of which has a value respectively. And this is the same data from IMDb, some of which you might be recalling visually. This is just a very raw, computer-friendly way of returning a whole bunch of data that we humans don't need to see. But I can use this data by going back into VS Code. Let me open another terminal window and go into source9 /shows2. And in here, let me go ahead and open up, how about templates index.html, which previously just use that inner HTML trick, and this is not going to impress, you're not going to be pleased with this syntax, but let me just at least explain what we're doing. It turns out that JSON is just the better way in general, the more generic, multi-purpose, user-agnostic, language-agnostic way of returning data from a server, because it's just text. So it doesn't matter if you're using Python or C or C++ or JavaScript or Ruby or PHP or something else. Like, all of those languages can process JSON information. And indeed, here is some JavaScript that does just that. Same code as before initially. I declare a variable called input that gives me access to the user's text box. I listen for input, like keystrokes going up and down. And when they happen, I call this anonymous function. I fetch data from the server using the exact same code as before, search, q equals office, or anything else. And then this is just now new code that I use.
Huh, okay. So this is the improvement. He's like you but bad. You versus the guy she tells you not to worry about.
To convert that JSON data into my own HTML format, be it an unordered list, an ordered list, a table, or anything else. What am I doing? I've got a variable called HTML initialized to nothing, so I've got no HTML initially. I then iterate over every ID in those shows. So every one of IMDb's unique identifier, I iterate over them one at a time. And then I go into the show, add its ID location, and I grab its title, and this is, forget this for just a moment. I then take this HTML variable, concatenate, or join onto it my own li tag plus the title plus the close li tag. And
okay. Wait, so this whole thing will be here. Okay. I think I see, but this whole thing is just there. Okay. This whole thing is just here. Okay.
skip this because it got.
Then this is just add li. Okay.
Scary pretty fast, but it turns out that if some TV shows have actually angled brackets in them, that could break my HTML entirely. So it turns out, you might recall super briefly last week, we had the copyright symbol using an HTML entity using the ampersand and the hash symbol and 169 semicolon. It turns out there are other such cryptic sequences of characters that represent otherwise dangerous or untypable characters like this, which could confuse the computer into thinking.
Oh shit. Oh shit. So this and this. So must change them because it can
mess up our code. Let's not swear.
It's at the beginning of a tag, and an ampersand, which could similarly trick the computer into thinking that it's a entity, which it isn't. But long story short, there are libraries, thankfully, that handle much of this for you. For our purposes, the takeaway is that now that you understand a bit of HTTP, now that you understand a bit of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, all of which they have their roles, you can use them ultimately to start assembling your own web applications, as you will for problem set 9, stitching together all of those languages and building full-fledged web applications, mobile applications, or anything more. And for that, I think we are all set. And if the first one up here can have these cookies as well. We'll see you next time for our very last CS50 lecture.
Oh my god, so close. Returning HTML. Lamar, you're still watching the lecture. You're still watching my stream. See, study streams work. Study streams fucking work. Let's go. Study streams work. I just need more people. Yes, it's getting kind of late. I need to sleep soon. So you're gonna have now zero motivation to study. Sad, I know. I find it funny. That's the one thing you point out. Like he's standing on a massive fucking like old theater. Yeah, it's not working now. Yes. What am I gonna do? Start the next sector? Yeah, there's like shopping cart. He was using the shopping cart to explain like the Amazon cart thing. It was like, oh, this cart has cookies, cause the cookie is the literal cookies that I'll be using to send web pages. Yeah. Oh, dude, the production budget on CS50 is kind of large. You know, at one point, right, they had a bunch of like lockers that had Monopoly money in them, and then they asked students to sort the Monopoly money. You know, this course is made by Harvard, right? Yeah, I mean it's there. You can see it in the webpage. It's harvard.edu. Where does your money go to? Like what in your... Oh, fuck. I should probably turn off my screen share. Yeah. What is morph animation? Like on or what on what is it on like Photoshop or PowerPoint? Sorry, yeah, PowerPoint. Lamar, let's go. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. F. You're paying that primo price. You're paying like what 3 times more than I pay a SEM for that. Holy shit! Okay, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Wait, you're paying 4 times. You're paying 4 times the amount I pay a year. Oh my gosh. Bro, that's F. That's so gone. Yeah, I know it's subsidized. The actual one is like I thought it's like 100+K for a full term for like a foreign student. Is it not like 100K for a foreign student or something? Not yet? What do you mean not yet? That's ominous. It's already 50% off. Actual is 72K a year. Yikes. Big yikes, my good sir. Alright, no more study stream. I'm actually gonna end the stream. I've actually streamed for quite late. I don't usually go this late into my stream.
Okay, no offense, but my goal is to actually not see you, like doctors. I do not want to see doctors. I hope I never get to see doctors that often. Like I don't. I wish I do not see doctors that often. No, I think I should not. Okay, for vaccines maybe, but I'm not going to go to the doctor often, hopefully. Yeah, I know. I used to take my influenza vaccine like almost every year. Because my parents were like, oh, we should go down to our local vet. Not local. I said vet. Oh my fucking god! I said vet. No, but I used to go down to my clinic. I go down to my clinic, like my house clinic, and then like, oh, we should go get a flu vaccine. I can't believe I said vet. But yeah, I used to take my flu vaccine annually. Same thing with my teeth. I used to do my teeth annually. I am good. I am like I am privileged to show what I can show. Yeah, I know it's expensive. Like it's not paid by me, it's paid by my parents, so it's not my call. They were like, "Oh, you should get your teeth and like flu vaccines." Not gonna lie, I'm considering, okay, because I'm going to Japan end of next year. I'm going to be saving up a good chunk of money to go to Japan, so I might do my flu shots closer then again. Dude, you don't need to tell me twice. You know? Oh, okay, sure. I will send your PSA into my chat. Wait, first I'll do this. Uh. There you go. Your message has been spread. Get get prophylaxis plus vaccines. Very good. Do I need prophylaxis vaccines if I go to Japan? Okay, yeah, you have been procrastinating enough. I shall get out of your hair. I also need to go to sleep. I want to sleep. Have a great time. Prophylaxis usually for places, example India. Yeah, okay, I guess. If you're camping, going to rural area. Yeah. Yes, yes, doctor. Ooh, okay, wait, then suck. I might need to get prophylaxis because I might travel to rural Japan. Like we may drive around Japan and I might be going to rural Japan. so we might. Okay, thanks. I imagine doctors also do a fair amount of googling themselves. I think that's fine. I don't think I'll be eating a lot of raw seafood. I actually don't really like raw seafood, and I think some of my friends are against raw seafood. So hopefully we should be fine. Okay, I shall Google and see. I shall Google and see. Yes, I shall be going with friends. No, I shall not be going with that friend group. I'm going with another friend group. I don't think that friend group is capable of going. Not say capable, but like I don't think they would scrounge up and like save to go to Japan. I'm going with another friend group. Yeah. I'm quite excited though. I love Japan. Going to Japan again. Very nice. And probably explore the parts of Japan that I couldn't, like going around traveling with my parents. Cause maybe I want to go to like some location, but then they're like, it's so out of the way. Literally on the day when I got to myself, I was I took the day. I wake up at 6:30 a.m. and I took the one of the few trains, early trains, and then I went to some place near very west of Japan to see a cat shrine. And I don't think my parents would be very very hot to go there. It's like an hour train ride. So I want to explore Japan like with some friends who will be able to do that kind of shit. Yeah, but I'll get out of your hair. I'm gonna end the stream very soon. Oh. Okay. I shall see this. Thank you for the information. If I do get something, you mean like vaccinations. Not like I get like something from Japan. Hey now, that's not kind. You know my message about not wanting to go and see a doctor. Like I hope I never see a doctor again. You want to go to come visit my ward, is it? Hey, what if I get what if I just get hospitalized in Japan instead? They're gonna fly to Japan? You're gonna fly to Japan and come visit? I thought so. I fucking thought so. You're fake friend. You're not gonna come to Japan to visit? Oh man. Not even come to Japan for your diagnosis? Goddamn. You wait for relapse? What the fuck? That's grim. Don't need, just tell your department, I got case study. Can we go fly to Japan and go take a look at this case study? Confirm plus Chop will give you some funds to go and do research. What's funny was that you had to appeal for your spot you had to appeal for your spot in medicine, didn't you? Like it was quite late when you actually entered medicine. I remember having this discussion with you. It's like you were kind of like begging. No, you didn't appeal, but it was like and like the university wasn't like getting to you. Like they weren't getting back to you, and then you were like, "Hey, can you please get back to me?" Then is it not? Weren't you like, oh, I had everything pretty fast. Actually, damn. But I remember you talking. But I did remember. You got into the course like later. I guess because you were on the wait list, huh? Okay, that's cool. I'm actually gonna end stream now because like I cannot keep this up. I'm gonna end stream and then we're gonna like chat like normal human beings. All right, goodbye stream. Have fun. Good night.